and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
Financial literacy is an essential skill for the 21st century. The principles of debt management, profitable savings techniques, and the importance of money have helped many. In 2011, the Central Bank of Nigeria made a commitment to reduce the number of financially excluded Nigerians from 46.3% in 2010 to 20% by 2020. Many fintech startups are plugging into this gap and targeting niche markets. One of such startups is Harvest. Harvest was founded by Sholape Akimpelu, who once worked at a marketing agency. Her dream is to help women in Africa take control of their finances by bridging the economic gender gap. She believes more women need to be intentional by improving their financial well-being.
Okay, so Harvest simply is an inclusive finance for African women. So we give women familiar access to savings, impact investments, and credit. So when we say impact investment, that is women impact investing into smallholder female farmers specifically. So that way yourself, right, we equip you with personal finance, insight, tools, platforms, right, to embrace savings, embrace financial wholeness, wellness, right, and then we don't limit it to you alone. We believe that the woman breaking her back in some far-flung village in Zaria, for instance, should get access to financial services too, because that's the only way we can prime her, her family, her community for better livelihood. So we extend our credit to, we extend our personal finance, considering the digital divide in language base. So that way you've equipped her and then she can participate in savings. And then, do you understand? So you're not managing poverty here for women, right? We are giving them a platform, tools, insights that gets them swim upwards in the economy.
Before launching Harvest, Sholape noticed a worrying trend that financial institutions were not targeting Nigerian women. Sholape teaches girls and women financial literacy through access to and use of financial services through knowledge.
On my marketing days, oh, we want to do this campaign. Let's look at the demographics. Male, female, female, male. Let's look at the top so clients, male, female. And I was wondering, because everywhere around me, I could see women breaking their backs, right? From the woman in the urban areas to the rural dwellers. And I was wondering what's happening. Why are they not adopting financial services so much? Why are they not, why are they on the fringes, right? So it was just important, and I've always been very impact driven. So it was just important that, you know, because I started doing a lot of research, so I realized that a lot of research had been done. So people were doing research and dropping, oh, this is the number. Oh, Nigeria is the only West African country on the priority list of financial exclusion, right? That is for gender, right? Ghana was there before, Ghana moved on. Then we are there with India, Bangladesh, and all of that. And we're wondering, why is Nigeria still here? So someone just had to do something, not just tell the story, not just state the numbers, not just quote the numbers or statistics, but do something to shrink that gender gap.
Each startup has its challenges.
First, you know, poor state of infrastructure. So by infrastructure, talking about digital and physical infrastructures. Talents too, right? We're losing a lot of talent to the West. It's painful when you look at it, because we have amazing, like a wide, you know, capacity as a country, you know, raising talent, but then we lose the same talents in the same breath. But I'll say that tech is a great leveler. Funding is the biggest challenge. So, you know, I'm sure that a lot of people would say, oh, well, that's about a major challenge for most businesses too. But I think it's twice hard for me personally as a female founder and a first-time founder, right? A lot of doors are just, you know, shut when it comes to funding. But we believe that with the right stakeholders, with government, um, individual investors and all of that will be able to crack the funding code. But it's been really hard funding the business. That is, funding the women, funding the business itself, building structures, building the infrastructures that we need to power the business. It's been so hard, quite tough.
Shalape's goal in the next 5 years is to empower women in the Nigerian market. It's obvious that tech is hard, but with the right amount of resilience, women can achieve anything.
Okay, so I'll just quickly add to that our goal is that in the next 5 years, the base case, right, would have helped, would have served 500,000 women. So when you say 500,000 women, we're looking at 350,000 women on the supply side of a business and 150,000 smallholder female farmers. And we believe that that number is possible because our addressable market is 57 million working women in Nigeria alone. Right, and that's just looking at the Nigerian market. But when we look at the other markets we're looking at, for instance, we're looking at, other African markets by next year. So it's possible, and this will be measured, and we'll be sharing with the public, our impact and measurements. So I'll just say for upcoming techpreneurs, I keep telling them, I said, let no one tell an African woman that it can't be done. Let nobody look at an African girl and say, no, you can't do it. You're an African girl. Come on. The customs, everything is, tilted against you. Kick them right in the middle, right? Put a fist right in its face because we grew up, a lot of us grew up resilient, right? We had to clear away the thorns and make way for ourselves. So it's hard. It's double hard. So tech is hard, right? It looks glam out there, but it's really hard. Trust me, because I say especially the infrastructure. You're working with a string of codes. That's why I tell people, right? Something can break somewhere. It works now. Then we all drive cars. A car takes you somewhere, and then you want to go home. It isn't working again, and you're wondering what happened. So much more string of codes from one point to another. Something is not returning, and you have to fix it. So you just have to also immerse yourself in the problem. It's important to walk in the shoes of whatever problem you want to solve. It's very, very key. I would say secondly, you just have to, the starter pack, you have to come in very, very resilient. So many days. There are some days I still can't feel like, where do I draw the line here? So many days, you have that feeling, but you've got to keep going on. And then, thirdly, I would say that it's possible that you get to places where it looks as if, you're not wanted at the table. It's okay, but it's fine to create your own table, right? And, but whatever you do, be less concerned about the glam, be less concerned about the glitz, but be more concerned about the problem you're solving for. Be driven, be mission driven, be impact driven, and the rest, will come with it.
Nigerian women are believed to care more for their parents and as such are in the best position to teach them financial literacy and retirement plan.
Okay, so I would say that typically the Nigerian woman, of course, suffers from the black tax, more of that. I personally tagged it Ada syndrome, right? And that is, you see parents saying, I want more girls because girls take care of their parents. Men, when they take a partner or something, they don't, but the girls, oh my, and it's a good thing. And those are the things that we keep having conversations about in our community. Talk to your parents about money. What are their retirement plans? Do they want to live in with you? Do they want to, what's their pension? All of those conversations. Otherwise, what about your siblings? What do you want to do for them? How do you measure? Where do you stop? Because you realize that you just continue giving. You are trapped in that cycle where you can't even sustain yourself, and then you become dependent on another one. So all of these things are generational challenges that has plagued the African child, but more the African girl, because you are the Ada, you are the girl, you are the one who's supposed to be very nurturing always. But hey, you can do all of this with the awareness of knowledge, and that's why we say be grounded with financial in personal finance and in financial knowledge yourself. What's your net worth? That's how you can talk to parents, talk to partners, talk to people around you, okay, on making better financial decisions for themselves, for yourself, so that nobody becomes, they don't look. You know what they say about this thing that say, lean on me, no be press me die. So they don't lean on you, and then want to suffocate you. So you've just got to be financially sound, and those are the things that we teach in our community. Get yourself a tribe, like Harvest, and like I say, even if you don't use the platform, the insights, the tools that you gain from being a community member of Harvest is is mind shifting, and every African girl, every African woman needs such to do better.
This is truly a landmark project, the first standard gauge in the history of this country where you would see an administration start and end the same project within the life of an administration. I'm indeed delighted to be speaking today on behalf of my brother governors of Ogun and Oyo State. Of course, it passes through these three states, the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail project. It is a testament to the commitment of Mr. President to deliver the transformational infrastructure to every part of his nation.
Perhaps what many may not know, this infrastructure development project has faced so many challenges in the course of its execution and delivery. And without the full support and steadfast encouragement of Mr. President, this event would not have taken place today. We cannot thank him enough. Your Excellency President Muhammad Buhari, you are very, very warmly welcome, sir. Today marks the historic day of the official commissioning ceremony and the flag off by His Excellency the President for full commercial operation, the newly constructed standard gauge Lagos to Ibadan railway line.
This occasion is the third time Mr. President is commissioning a standard gauge railway infrastructure project, completed and delivered under his watch. Your Excellency, why I insisted that you must come to commission this project is because the naysayers will say you are not the person that started the project. They will say we met it halfway and you completed it. So I've lost that car. What is important is to show them that the project was started by you and finished by you.
The Lagos to Kano railway project, when completed, will link the Kano-Maradi line at the Kano and a rail link from Nigerian southern ports of Lagos to Maradi in the Niger Republic will be achieved. The connection through rail would position Nigerian ports as the choice for import and export business of the people of landlocked Niger Republic.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayome Saleh, and today Noma and I we're holding the fort. I think it's a two aside this week.
You know.
Hello Noma, how are you doing?
I'm
you look
good.
amazing, by the way. I love the hair.
Dear. I finally made it to the salon.
Lovely
So
hair.
I'm really happy with myself. My hair was a mess. I've been doing the best I could, being the person I am. But today I just needed somebody to help me wash my hair. So I'm feeling good. But
You look lovely.
I feel lovely. Thank you very much.
So
How are
what
you
salon
doing?
did we go to?
It's Fabs, as you
Oh.
know. You imagine, okay, let me not reveal. But imagine going all the way back mainland. I beg.
Please.
You know?
Trust me. We are,
Oh my God.
we are in Lekki, but we are not off Lekki.
Yes, we are in the Lekki, but not
We are
off
not off.
the Lekki.
We are not
Oh
off Lekki.
my
No.
goodness, no.
You know what is
But the
even really
difference
annoying
is actually
that
clear, because when you get good service and then you have affordable pay, I mean,
you don't.
it's a win-win
The
situation.
anger for me with Lekki is that you charge me so
charge
much,
so much,
and yet
then
I can't
you're
see.
crappy. The other day when I went to the salon, I said, "What?" And by the time they were done, I said, "You know what? I'm going back to my roots. Sorry." Yes, Fabs did an amazing job.
Yes, so they made my hair as well.
Oh,
so
of course.
I'm rocking it for
we
1
will
week.
keep louding it.
Yes,
they're
sir.
doing an amazing job.
Interesting. So today, this
There's
conversation,
too much heavy talk.
there's too much happening in the news, too many things. You know, we've been holding off this conversation for a bit, but I think it's time for us to have the conversation of the young girl, Deborah Samuel, that was lynched and eventually burnt. Too many conversations all over the place. Is it religion? Is it lack of what's it called, justice, or lack of law and order, or is it ignorance? So many things happening in the news about the young girl, and it's really, really heartbreaking, because for me, what was scary is the fact that even in an institution, right, the people in the institution could not even protect the girl. They had to summon her out of the institution. I mean, so it's just a lot of emotions going through my mind, that where exactly is safe in Nigeria? Where is safe in the country? So we're discussing Deborah Samuel, as I earlier said, and here's what we found as today's quote. It's an universal law. Intolerance is the first sign of an inadequate education. An ill-educated person behaves with arrogant patience rather, impatience, whereas truly profound education breeds humility. So when you see people acting, in a certain way, you would know that they're really ill-educated. Now, Deborah Samuel, a 200 level home economics student of Shehu Shagari College of Education in Sokoto, was on Thursday, 12th of May, 2022, said to have made a comment in her school's WhatsApp platform, which her Muslim colleagues considered blasphemous of the Prophet Muhammad, and killed her before setting her corpse ablaze. So it's our ladies' night out, and Norma and I will be discussing Deborah Samuel's death. Is it a show of religious intolerance? Is it an absence of law and order, or ill education? When we open our phone lines, we really, really love to hear what you have to say. Please let me sound a little bit of caution. Let's be careful with words that we use, because people are sensitive at this time, so we do not further agitate. Instead, let's even understand what the situation is. So when we open our phone lines, I would really love Muslims to call in, Christians to call in. Let's hear ourselves and let's hear what you have to say. But first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. You're still watching Ways Now. International Day Against Homophobia, Biophobia and Transphobia is observed on May 17th and aims to coordinate international events that raise awareness of the LGBT rights violations and stimulate interest in LGBT rights works worldwide. By 2016, the commemoration had taken place in over 130 countries. The founders of the International Day Against Homophobia, as it was originally known, established the IDAHO committee to coordinate grassroots action in different countries to promote the day and to lobby for official recognition on May 17. That day was chosen to commemorate the decision to remove homosexuality from international classifications of disease of the World Health Organization in 1990. So we're talking tolerance today. So when I saw this day, I said, "Oh, what a what a coincidence!" This is one thing that a lot of people are not tolerant about. I am learning.
A lot of people are not.
Even though I do not support it, because I feel like biologically, there is an attraction a man and a woman have that is stronger than anything. But I'm learning to just say, you know what? I see you. I hear you. And I respect your decision. That's tolerance, right?
Absolutely.
And you can only understand tolerance from a point of love. You love people regardless. I mean, we are not perfect human beings, but I love you, I see, and that doesn't mean I need to bring you into my space. I can love you from afar, can just keep you at bay and respect your decisions, right? That's it. And I think that's how we should translate tolerance across everything. I don't know.
Understanding is key. I mean, we're different people, different individuals, and when you understand how people's either culture or society background where they're raised up and how they end up becoming the people that they are, then you will understand what made them to make the decisions that they made in life. I may not be happy with the decisions that you have made, but I can understand you're coming from somewhere, and I can learn to tolerate you the same way because we're different in our different ways. So I think the world needs more than ever understanding, compassion, and love, for fellow human beings, irrespective of the choices that they have made, even though we don't agree with them, because that's what makes us all different individuals all over the world.
Absolutely. It's so interesting. It's interesting how they say that he who has no sin should cast the first stone. People keep forgetting that no human being on earth is perfect, right? So the fact that somebody is, at the point where the person seems like exposed and all of that, everybody knows what is going on, the shenanigans happening, does not mean that that nobody has seen or heard anything about, don't have your sins, right? It's interesting. The subject of homosexuality is still one that, I keep wondering why, but you see, I remember that when I was going to school as a young girl, I had a friend that had gone to an all-girls school. She was so particular because she was very close to me. She wanted me to come to her school and all of that. She wanted me to come to her school. It was a federal government girls' school and all of that. But because of the stories I had heard about lesbianism and all, I said, "Oh, Mom, I'm not going." I told my mother, I said never. But I could tell that at that point she had already been initiated, because immediately she came back from boarding house, she was a bit different with me. She was a lot more touchy and all of that. But you see, if I was raised in a Buddhist shrine, I would be practicing Buddhism. If I was raised in a Hindu shrine, I would have been. So
absolutely.
So we do not own we do not have control over where we are, where we come from, our families that we're raised in, and all of that. But what we do have control over as humans is when we get to the realization,
the choices that we
now begin to take choices after, intentionally. That's what you have the control over. You can intentionally say that, yes, I might be this, but this is what I want to do going forward, right? So I think, that would really help people, to some extent. All right, so we do not really have nice stories in the news today, unfortunately, but we will try to just make the best. So what did you find for us?
Unfortunately, I have to go first to bring the really, really sad news about the explosion that took place earlier today. Alleged explosion, whether it is
because there are still speculations
bombing,
that it's still
there's a lot of speculation around it that there's still under investigation, whether it's a bombing or an explosion, gas explosion, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, a lot of children were affected and many are feared dead in this explosion that took place in Kano. So the story has it that scores are feared dead following an explosion along the Court Road in Sabon Geri, Kano State today. The explosion occurred near a private secondary school, Winners School, and destroyed the residential building and an affected part of the school. So the explosion occurred this morning, and some of the visuals that were totally disturbing on social media, we had incidents of school children crying for help. Some of the parents were seen running and rushing up and down trying to rescue their children. A lot of them were injured. They had blood all over them. Some of them were stranded, you know, and they were still expecting responders on the scene. So as of the time of the report, security operatives were said to have been on ground. We had the Army, Police, NSCDC, and that has surrounded the place. And also the National Emergency Management Agency and Fire Service operatives were also on ground trying to rescue victims. It's really sad, and I can't even imagine the thought of taking my kids to school only to receive this kind of news that an explosion has taken place. And it tells on the bigger picture that Nigeria, you know, this situation we have been crying over about the security, either security, the state of security in the country, or even some of the things that people are not aware of around them. You know, whether it was a gas explosion, I don't even know why a gas plant or whatever it is will be located near a school. And if it was an actual explosion of some sort, then it tells that there is a security breach in the state. And this is not just about Kano State. We're talking about situations also in Lagos. We're talking about situations in different parts of the country. You don't even want to go to the southeast, where there have been countless of situations, unknown gunmen, whatever it is. This all boils down to the fact that there is a critical problem on ground that we need either the state government or the federal government to plug into and begin to seek ways of resolving this matter before it becomes way out of hand and uncontrollable.
Well, the police commissioner, I think, for Kano State had come out to say, because a lot of speculations when this first happened. I remember my mom sending me the video. These days, she takes permission first. She said, please, can I send you? That there are other very horrible ones, but she didn't want to send it. But she wanted to
very gory details.
Yeah, she wanted to take my permission. I said, Mommy, please don't send it, because I'm already depressed as I am. Do not even add to my, you know. So a lot of speculations was that it was a bomb blast, but the commissioner for police for Kano says that it is not a bomb blast. Samail Diko, he says that it is actually a gas
feed farm,
gas explosion. So let us believe that it's a gas explosion, and investigations are still ongoing. And I think the last time I checked, I read it was somewhere around 9 people that had died or something. So I don't know.
And a lot of people were injured.
I saw so many blood on the t-shirts of the children.
The children were covered in blood. A lot of them were injured.
And they were really toddlers,
small, really small. So
toddlers.
It broke my heart completely, because these children, I can only imagine the fear that they experienced when it actually occurred.
Yeah,
and some of them are still trying to locate their parents. Parents are still trying to locate some of their kids as well.
All right, so my story is also not so much of a great news. ASU, they say gunshots as soldiers disperse protesting students in Ondo State. Men of the army have allegedly stormed the scene of the students where they were protesting. The students had gone out for day 2, right, to protest the lingering strike of the Academic Staff Union, that's the ASU. Videos obtained by correspondent had shown that soldiers marching in their numbers with guns alongside a van, being driven after them, sporadically shooting in the air, and again just to disperse the students who had, blocked some major parts of the state, including the Biniore Expressway. This is really sad. Why I actually picked this story, it just brought back 2020, October 10, what's it called, NSAS, October 20th, 2020, where peaceful protesters were using military guys to disperse a peaceful protest.
Again,
now,
it has come to play.
Students are not in school, right? Education is one of the biggest thing that can either make or mar any nation, right? And you have students on the road protesting. Instead of you to sit down to try to resolve the issue as a government, you're sending military guys, men of the Nigerian army. These children, they are not holding weapons. Like, are we not tired of the same story? This is the same thing. This is like, it's just a reminder, because they say that even shooting in the air is as dangerous as a direct gun to the chest, because it can hit anybody. A stray bullet can hit anyone, and we still have these things over and over again. Is it that our intelligence with the army, they are not smart enough to find ways to resolve, any form of, or dissolve any form of gathering that, like a protest? Must you go in that direction of using guns? It does not make any sense to me. We've lost lives as a result of things like this, and a repetition. It means that no lesson was learnt from the NSAS protest. It means that it's going to be business as usual. It means that people do not have the right to say, you know what, we are tired of the status quo of things. Does this mean, does it not mean anything to the government to see what it is that you're doing to this nation?
I'm not even sure if that conversation has been had. What are the lessons that we're taking away from situations around, as in what can we do better? Because it would take a government who is forward-thinking, who wants to make change, and who wants to be able to see that change come to pass, to be able to take that step back and review. How are we doing? What are the things that we're doing well? Some of the things we've implemented, how well have we done? What can we do better? It's a government that is taking that direction. Unfortunately, we haven't seen it in the actions that have been taken so far. So all we continue to see is a repetition of what has happened before, where we still have, military personnel.
I just don't want to believe that they don't have intelligent people in the military that cannot find a more less harmful way to disperse any protest or something. Why would you always go back to shooting in the air? It is not. It's a no-no
conversation until something is done with regards to sitting down and taking a look. We may not be able to see those changes that are necessary, because it's people who are thinking that the people that they're serving really matter, that will be able to take that step back. And I'm hoping that at some point that this will be done, whether in the near future or even now, because it's really becoming something that can cause even more chaos before we know it.
All right, so we'll take a break now. When we come back from the break, we want to discuss Deborah Samuel's death, and let's just analyze and see how we can make sense of all of this. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
My dear friends, I must be honest with you. Today, I would have preferred not to be here to preach to you. Today, I would have preferred to lock myself up in my chapel, before God alone, to weep and to pray. To weep and to pray for my nation, where darkness has descended. To weep and pray for my church that is being stifled out of existence in the world and also in Nigeria. To weep and pray for Deborah Emmanuel, who was killed because she found herself in a part of Nigeria she thought was home, but it wasn't. To weep and to pray for my brother and friend, Bishop Matthew Hassan Kukah, the world-acclaimed voice of the voiceless, who has now become soft target for those same voiceless people who see him as part of their problem rather than as part of the solution. To weep and to pray for the poor, miserable murderers of Deborah, who have been left uneducated and unemployed deliberately so that they can be manipulated, brainwashed, and instrumentalized for political ends by religious bigots and political egoists. To weep and to pray for people who should be leaders, religious leaders, who enjoy being ambivalent in the condemnation of evil when it is perpetrated by one of them. To weep and to pray for our political leaders, under whose watch this nation has crumbled.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, the Catholic Bishop of Nsukka Diocese, Enugu State, Bishop Godfrey Igwebuike Ona, had accused the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration of deliberately crumbling Nigeria. Ona, who was reacting to the gruesome murder of the student of Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto State, over the alleged blasphemy of Prophet Muhammad, lamented how violence, corruption, and other vices have become culture and tradition in this part of the world. The clergyman, who is angered by the realities in the country, expressed sadness over attacks on the Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Matthew Kukah, residence. Right? Daily Post recalls that Kukah's house was reportedly attacked a few days ago following protests launched in parts of Sokoto State by some Muslims over the arrest of suspected killers of the 200-level students. The senseless killing of this young girl triggers a lot of questions to where we are as citizens of the world. Was this barbaric act a show of religious intolerance, an absence of law and order, or ill education like he alleged? Please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa 1 with the hashtag Wayshow. Okay, so Norma, I am particularly not in a happy place today because I don't even know where to start the conversation from. But I wouldn't know maybe if things have changed so bad from when I was growing up, because when it comes to, let's take it piece by piece, religious intolerance, I never understood what that word meant until maybe much later in life, because I could go into a mosque, literally. I would do the ablution with my neighbors that were Muslims. They would teach me how to do the prayers, you know, and they would come, would sing the songs together. But everybody understood that you were Muslim, I was Christian, and yet we could still do all those things and go back peacefully to practicing our religion without being compromised in our faith, right? When it was Christmas, we would take food to them. When it was Salah, it was a must. You know, everybody would, I mean, Christmas, you see line up of, because like neighbors, like 14 neighbors, so they would line the coolers in big sizes, not even small sizes. So you were cooking with the mind that I am feeding not just my family, but the entire neighborhood. So people would come. So when I hear things about religious intolerance, I still cannot relate, right? I still can't relate. You know, I feel that a lot of things has gone wrong in this country. And the biggest challenge I see is that everybody is more focused on ambitions than actually the nation called Nigeria. That's what I think is the biggest problem, but I don't know about you. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I can resonate with what you were saying. Growing up, I think as an older person, that was when I started knowing that there's a difference, or that we were different. Growing up in the North as well, North was home. North is still home for some of us. I don't know about others. But being in that position where I could meet people, I could, you know, communicate, I could relate without fear or any form of prejudice, was the ultimate experience as a Nigerian. And that was no surprise there that some of us didn't, some of us would say we're true Nigerians, because we've been all over the country. We have lived and we've experienced the people, we've experienced the culture, we embraced some of it, you know, just to be able to have that sense of belonging as a nation. But when things like situations that we're seeing in the current state of our country show up, then you begin to wonder, is there really a country? It is deep, because when people start making certain comments or certain statements that, oh, you don't belong, or when there is, for example, if somebody who grew up in Lagos says, I'm a Lagosian, I can vie for, and that's when it's remembered that, oh, you know, you are not from Lagos State, or you were not born in Lagos, or things like that. So with situations of religion, like you rightly said, growing up in the North, we had Muslims as neighbors. We received meals from them during festive periods, and then during Christmas or during our own festive periods, we also share what we had. So at the point where people now begin, in the face of conflict, then people now remember, oh, you are this and I am this. It now begins to tell you that, was it a dream or a facade that we embraced?
So,
and this is now the actual reality of the situations of ground.
So the Bishop Godfrey, right? That's his name. Was talking about uneducated, unemployed. He mentioned those two words. So I believe education has a major part to play in this, because again, I have interacted. I have a lot of Muslims as friends, really close friends. And you know, when we have conversations, you can't be afraid to say your mind around them. Because I believe that some of them have been exposed, they have that exposure then they understand, right? So you are not careful choosing your words. So is it possible that what we are seeing, with the death of this young girl, is a lack of education, is a major show of how ignorant a lot of people have become, that it is now almost to this point where you can actually decide that you want to fight a battle for God? Because I don't understand why, if somebody makes a blasphemous statement, because that blasphemy is still questionable, right? If somebody
she
makes,
didn't have that opportunity to
defend herself, if somebody makes a blasphemous statement, why you feel the need that you have to be the one to fight? So I saw a few people online calling out for, because you see, if we are talking, it is always nice that it is a Muslim that is coming out to talk about certain things, so that it doesn't look like, oh, we are just being biased because she's a Christian and all of that. Yeah. So the Zainab Mohammed, what's her name now? She came out in a post on Twitter, and she said she was, of course, giving her condolence. The UN Secretary General, she was giving her condolence. Amina Mohammed, sorry, not Zainab. She was giving her condolence, and she was calling out that the government should please do something while she sends her prayers to the family. She says justice must be done for the senseless, brutal killing of the young girl Deborah Yakubu in Nigeria. Religion or religions should not be misinterpreted to preach violence when they promote peace, right? So this is what she is saying. Whilst others, because I had to go back to screen grab. You remember when this issue first broke? The very first person prominent that put out a statement was Atiku. Yeah. That eventually he brought down that statement and did a very long video explaining why that tweet and all of that. And what struck me the most was that the reason the tweet was brought down was a lot of Muslims came on his page attacking him, that he just lost their vote. He just lost their vote. He just lost their vote. So I want to read some of the tweets that I found. I just said, what? This is not for me to make any judgment. It's for us to just sit down and analyze and understand. Is this the reality? So that while you as a Christian or a Muslim, you are in a that's why I do not participate in religious conversation. But see, if you find yourself in that place where you are discussing religion, maybe this should be like a sign to guide or guard your mouth, right? So Garba Shehu, Adamu Garba said, he said there's no Muslim that don't respect the sanctity and divinity of Jesus Christ. And certainly there is no Muslim that will ever tolerate denigrating our beloved Prophet Muhammad. Insulting him is our uncompromising red line. Respect our sensibilities and avoid it. So this is what a Muslim came out to say. There's another captain, of course, that Azman Air has come to dissociate themselves from, is Captain Jamil Abubakar, who said that it was his personal opinion, and he was talking about, he says, Deborah Samuel, let me see if I can pull out, he said Deborah Samuel was stoned to death and burnt by some of her Muslim classmates. Oh no, let me try to pull out what he said, sorry. Let me pull out what he said. He said, in Islam we respect the Injil, Torah and Zabur. We were never taught to disrespect any of the book of any of the prophets from Adam to Muhammad and the Quran. The punishment for blasphemy is death. In most religions, it's including Christianity, respect people's, that he said the punishment for blasphemy is death in most religions, including Christianity. Respect people's religion. It's simple. Of course, people came and they were attacking him and saying they cannot believe. Somebody said, literally sincerely shocked. You actually believe it is okay to take another person's life. But I don't know where in Christianity, maybe somebody would help me, because I've not seen it anywhere in Christianity where blasphemy
maybe
is
he's
now
referring to back in the days in the Jewish times where people, if you said something that they didn't believe in, then you were
So the Sheikh Ahmed Gumi came out also to condemn it. he said that the prophet's refusal to avenge, because that even the prophet himself was insulted by people, that his refusal to avenge the insults of non-Muslim or that non-Muslim raised or rained on him while he was alive was because he did not want to be tagged a murderer. So anyone who kills a non-Muslim who have agreed to live peacefully with will not smell the fragrance of paradise for 40 years. So he's even saying, because they say that there's a reward for when you do certain things, you get a place in paradise and all of that. So I think these are prominent people coming out, to talk about,
views.
To talk about this. So it just begs the question that what are we dealing with really? Is it a conversation around religious intolerance, or is the fact that we are in a country where there is no law and order, right? There is no rule of law, where I can do anything and I get away with it. I can take a life. Look at the young boy that was killed in Lekki for 100 naira. Where are the arrests that have been made? Whose life is going to be hung based on this boy that was killed, right? We see crimes being perpetrated on a daily basis, right? And nobody gets to go to jail, or nobody is killed for it, or nobody is electrocuted for it. So is this really a show of religious intolerance, or is the fact that Nigeria as a country, the corruption has eaten so deep that everybody can just do whatever it is that they feel like, and nobody is brought to book? Is that what we are suffering from? Or are we suffering from ill education, where a lot of people are not well educated, they do not understand, and they feel like, certain things, they need to fight certain battles on behalf of the divinity that they serve? What exactly are we suffering from?
Well, in my opinion, I think we're suffering from a little bit of
everything.
Everything. So when you take the religious intolerance, you see that unfortunately different people have different views, and based on who you're listening to, that is how you're going to be programmed. So some of our Muslim sisters and brothers believe that this is injustice. Taking a life in this manner was not the best solution that would come out of the situation. While some others believe that this is the law, or this is what we believe, that if anyone blasphemes against the prophet, then the ultimate punishment is death. So these divisions will tell based on who you're listening to. Absolutely. The different sheikhs, or the different instructors, or the people that they listen to, who do they listen to? It will shape their understanding, whether they are enlightened or not. So you have enlightened people making these comments, as well as people who are uneducated.
Absolutely.
So it depends on what do we have.
Yeah. So let's. I forgot that we need to open our phone lines.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's go on a very quick break. We'll open our phone lines. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. Now, if you just tuned in, it's our Ladies' Night Out, and our focus today is Deborah Samuel's death. We're asking, is this a show of religious intolerance? Is it an absence of law and order? Or it is just ill education that we're suffering from? Now, please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at WayShow after one with the hashtag WayShow. Our phone line is now open. The number to call is 07025007749. Remember, please be cautious about the words you use. Religion is a very sensitive matter, and we do not want to further agitate anyone. So please, let's be cautious and be guarded. Remember to turn off the volume of your television set while you're calling. So
So I was saying, so there's the place of education and enlightenment, where if I have that understanding, then I'm able to tolerate what somebody, even if I do not agree to them.
Absolutely. Norma, please hold that thought. Let me take our first caller Austin from Benin, thank you for calling. Let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for calling.
Okay, so yes, religious intolerance. I think that's what it is, and it's both in Islam and Christianity. I think what has happened in our country is that people have been so radicalized to a level where they take religion now to the extreme. Fashola said some time ago that he's surprised that even these two religions that we profess, these two major religions that came from the Middle East, that way we practice it here, the Middle East people don't even practice the religion the way it is. They are not fanatical about this religion the way Nigerians, the Nigerians do. Okay? Now, in the north, I think what is happening in the north is that a lot of youth in that place, they are not educated well enough to know that, look, these are things that should not generate violence. Well, Bishop Kuka said some time ago that what you just need to send people Amajiris into the street is just a crate of mineral. Only a crate of mineral. They go to the street and unleash mayhem on the people. Now, so the point I'm trying to make is this. It's not just the Muslims now, even within among the Christians. I am a Catholic, for instance. Do you know that some persons have called me and said, look, you are not attending a Bible believing church. They tell me that they have told me that, look, you in the Catholic church, you people worship images, you don't worship God. Oh, you worship Mary, you don't worship Jesus Christ. So just imagine if you are saying that same thing to a Muslim, how the person will react. So that's just the problem. We have become so intolerant of.
Absolutely. But thank you so much, Austin. He had mentioned he said that all you need to do to get the Almajiris on the street, right, is to give them a crate of soft drink. But you see, the thing is that not poverty? And is that not ignorance? Because that's not religion. That is not religion at play there. It's deeper than that. So you see, when you keep the people ill-educated, automatically they are mercenaries for you. And that's what that bishop had said, the Catholic bishop, when he was talking about uneducated and unemployed. You keep them at a place where they will continue to do your bidding. So if a politician or a government is not really focused on educating the people and empowering them in the real sense of empowerment, you are the one actually creating the chaos that we're seeing, because it means that for as long as these people remain jobless, ill-educated or uneducated,
people will find
they will always use them as a tool. They will thank you. These are working weapons.
Yeah, I was going to bring in that aspect, because even thinking about it, Deborah was in the university. Apart from those who are educated or who are not educated, that they can weaponize, you also have the educated ones who are still who are not enlightened. And there's a difference, right?
That's the ill-education.
The ill-education, because these were her classmates. And the moment that situation comes up, that maybe caution could have even taken place there. Oh, please, whatever it is. Till now, we still do not have, because Deborah is not even here to defend herself. We still do not know the extent to it. What exactly did she say that was...
It was something around how did she pass an exam?
Yes, even that conversation, we cannot have it as in the way it went at the end of the day.
I'll come back to that, but let me take a caller. Lecinta from Gombe State. Thank you for calling. Are you there? You're live.
Yeah, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Uwa.
Thank you for calling.
Okay, I think the issue I see with this Deborah's issue is as a result of intolerance. Nigeria is a country where people see religion as if it's everybody's business. We fail to understand that religion is a personal affair. So Nigerians are generally judgmental people when it comes to religion. Even among we, the Muslims, you discover that when you see someone dressed in a particular way, somebody is quick to condemn you. So if not, as a Muslim, you're supposed to understand that even if this person has said something against your religion, you cannot fight for God. That's just the truth. So allow God to fight this battle. So as a Muslim, you're supposed to know that you don't have the right to take the life of fellow human beings, regardless of what their belief is.
Thank you so much.
So I see a lot of things, and I realize that people are not well informed here in the North. Sorry to say.
Thank you.
So religion is between you and your God, and it's a personal affair. And the earlier we take it like that, the better for us as a society.
Thank you so much, Jacinta.
In fact, that she just opened it up. A lot of people are not informed. So the moment something is not going in the way that you accept it, then the next thing people resort to, and it also comes from programming. The people in that environment, how are they programmed to so that things that can, what's the word, that conducive environments that cause those things to come up based on the way they're programmed. You see somebody, and that's why somewhere early, when in the early late 90s into 2000, when the crisis started in Jos and in Kaduna, when people started finding out places that were most peaceful, that nothing of the sort could ever come up, and then all of a sudden you begin to program people to believe that once there's a crisis, then the people to go after. So like I said, it's a combination of all of these things, because when people are not programmed to love, when people are not programmed to tolerate one another, when people are not programmed to understand in the midst of differences.
Let me take Loma from Abia State, because what I was even thinking, shouldn't that have been an opportunity to educate her?
Exactly, to caution her or to make her to understand that what she did was wrong.
From Abia State. Thank you for calling, Loma. You're live.
Yeah, good evening, my good back in the house.
Good evening, Loma.
Yeah, it's Loma. See, just like the last one, an uninformed mind is a deformed mind. Now, let me take it from this way. Why is it that the Christians have not killed anybody when people talk about something on Jesus Christ? There are many that don't believe that Jesus did something right. But it is because you want out. Some of the people that the other people that are not educated are educated people. So that's understand where I'm going. Educated ones always groom the uneducated, leading them to do what is not right. It is quite unfortunate. So it is right time that the elite up north should educate the younger ones. So that those uneducated, so that they'll start knowing what the religion is all about. We have good friends. I have Muslim friends. They don't talk about killing. They don't kill anybody. They are only supposed to talk about killing. It is because the educated ones try to manipulate the uneducated and make them to what they don't know. So please, it is one time. Let's use the opportunity to tell the educated ones. Educate, let the elite in the north educate the uneducated. At the end of the day, this type of thing will not be happening. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Loman.
You know, so the girl was asked, I think, something around her homework. How did it play? She said, "Oh, Jesus." So it was Jesus, and then I said, So it's actually very sad. It's sad that, you know, even because you see, I've had, and that's why I'm very careful not to go into arguments, right, with people. I mean, when the Sharia crisis was happening back and forth in Kaduna State, I remember there was a story that we heard, was a boy actually hid his friend that was a Muslim in the roof of his ceiling. He hid him because he was in a Christian, you know, when the crisis breaks like that, wherever you are, you have to check if you're in a safe place. Or so he was not in a safe zone because he was in the Christian part of Kaduna. You know, when the threat had left the place and the people left the area and all of that, it was safe for him to come down from the roof of the ceiling to now go. He came down and took his dagger and slashed the tummy. It was because the boy survived. That's how come we heard the story. Do you understand? So, I mean, if you have gotten to that point where someone that even to the point that somebody that saved your life, right? Shouldn't you be thinking twice that, am I really, practicing how the Prophet would have wanted? Because every part of Islam that I am aware of, right? I don't know so much. I haven't read the Quran, but I have been around Muslim friends. It has always been love. It has always been love. I've not had any of my Muslim friends that show me bitterness or hatred. Do you understand? So why? But let me take a caller. I think we have another caller on the line. You're live. Hello, Benjamin, you're live.
Hello.
Go ahead, quickly.
Yes. Hello.
Hello, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm Benjamin from Imo State. Yeah. I'm Imo State.
You're welcome. Go ahead, please.
Very much. It's a mind-troubling issue. I think the entire thing borders on lack of understanding. In fact, religious intolerance is a pandemic, a serious pandemic. And the earlier we tackle it, the better. You see, there are places where you go to and you begin to see what civilized people do. We don't need to be in America or Europe to be civilized. Let people move out to the Gambia here in West Africa and see the height of religious tolerance. I myself personally have been privileged to live in the house of a Muslim cleric, a Christian, and I was organizing choral practices, choir and catechism in his house, in his compound. During Christmas, they will give us candles, incense, and ask us to pray for them. During their own festival, usually in April, they call to basket. Christians will also give them the gifts to them. During Christmas period, the same people you see them, you hardly can distinguish between Muslims and Christians because young Muslim boys and young Muslim girls join us in Christmas carols. And it has nothing to do. Our problem here is that most of our leaders confuse themselves and they use religion as governance. Governance and religion become the same. And then those following them will now act with impunity, believing that whatever they do, nobody will ask them questions, and that they are hopeful that they have a superior power somewhere to protect them. Otherwise, if they are punished, or if they understand that the constitution of this country makes it, in fact, there are laws in this country that make it criminal for somebody to kill another, they will not abide, and not abide by their religious belief. Their religious belief notwithstanding. And if Nigeria is a secular state, we should know that there is no state religion. And you cannot kill or contravene the law on the grounds of religion.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
In fact, while Benjamin was talking, I just remembered that today, I think over 20 lawyers or something, I can't remember the exact figure, of representatives who were representing the so-called people, those who are in custody at the time. And I'm wondering how these seeming young people could rally around and get this number of lawyers to come to their defense. Is it because they really believe that what these people have done is right?
That's what I'm saying to you now. It's a conviction. The actions that was taken based on the conviction that
Absolutely.
they had. So that programming, it's a very strong programming. And again, and I like what the last caller was talking about, the elite. We need to. You can't just say, okay, no, that's not how it's done. You must be ready to do the dirty work, go into the streets and educate the minds of these people, because a lot of people are ill-educated. They don't even understand the religion that they claim to practice, right? But let's take some comments. Fantastic evening, ladies. This conversation is succinct at this time and provokes a lot of sentiment. Religious discourse has never been easy among Nigerian youth, both Christians and nonetheless Muslims. I attribute all these to wrong indoctrination during childhood. How many of us as adults truly question what we were taught to believe as children? A wrongly indoctrinated child is a time bomb waiting to explode in adulthood. Let's think about that. This is Chigozie from Anambra State. You have a comment?
Yes, I do. It says, good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? #Ways. Concerning the death of Deborah Samuel, I think the people that were involved in this dastardly, demonic, and heartless act went too far and took laws into their hands. There was a pastor, I really can't remember his name, he said that he read the Holy Quran and that he did not see where it was written where death penalty was the judgment for blasphemy. Even if Deborah blasphemed, is it not proper for her to be cautioned or counseled and also to put to order not to do it again? That it is wrong, rather than kill this beautiful lady for nothing and setting her corpse ablaze. I personally am not in support of this. Sister Norma, I like your hair, you look good. My name is Daniel Lilo from your
I said the phone lines are buzzing. We have some callers, but I think we lost the call. But we have one final comment quickly.
Yes, I do have one from Iyori in Gombe State. She says, good evening, ladies. Majority of these Muslims don't read the Quran for themselves. They listen to sermons, and that is what programs them. Even in Christianity, you see Christians who no longer read the Bible for themselves. I think that's very apt.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't know these things for themselves. They do not question, like you said, they do not question to go and read for themselves. They just take what they're being taught hook, line, and sinker, and just deposit it. And that's where enlightenment and education comes in.
So, right, on that note, I think we're going to bring back the conversation around religion, you know. So for us, it's not a fight thing. It's for us to just have understanding, because I believe that with dialogue and conversations, you are supposed to hear each other, hear from the Muslims, hear from the Christians, and hear and try to find the root cause of the problem. We hear our phone lines are buzzing, but we're sorry we can't take more calls. Thank you to everyone that called. The phone is ringing in my ear. Thank you to everyone that called. Thank you. We're just praying and we're hoping that this girl will find justice and her death will not just be wasted. It will educate both Muslims and Christians on what to do if situations like this arise. You don't have to take a life to pass the message across. Right, so our heart goes out to the mom. I mean, I read somewhere where the mom was saying that Deborah was the first.
She's the first out
of 8 children, and that so the remaining 7 children, they're not going to school anymore.
Yeah,
and she has left the matter
to God,
to in the hands of God, for God to take care. It's sad. It's really sad. Thank you so much, Norma. Thank you to everyone that called and sent in their messages. Now, before we go, ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at Wayshow Africa. On Twitter is at Wayshow Africa 1. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all the engagements on social media. Like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, here it is again. It is an universal law. Intolerance is the first sign of an inadequate education. An ill-educated person behaves with arrogance, impatience, whereas truly profound education breeds humility. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. to bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the world to mark the World Hypertension Day, experts say about 80 million adult Nigerians representing 40% of the population are at risk of hypertension. What's the way forward?
Also on The Breakfast, we bring you update on security situation in Kano and what safety measures have been put in place for the resumption of train services.
And don't forget, we'll also be looking through today's newspapers and analyzing the biggest stories of the day. Good morning to you. This is The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye.
I am Messi Bopo. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you, Messi. Brand new look. You look nice, by the way.
Thank you so much. I take that. Thank you.
I think I like it when women, go and braid and all.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Messi is trying to just take it all together. But hey, let's just slide on top trending. Oh, thank you. So, Kano is actually trending, or not really for a wonderful reason right now, but for an explosion that rocked a particular area of the ancient city, that's Sabon Geri. And the police residents are disagreeing over the cause of the particular inferno. The police has come out with a statement, and they are saying that it was caused by, the inferno was actually a gas explosion, although residents disagree.
So it's really, looking at that situation and looking at the incident, it calls for a lot of whether or not it's a gas situation or it's not a gas situation. We're hoping that the relevant quarters, because when you have an incident like this happen, there should be an investigation. But let's even go by the story that's been put out. Let's even say that it's a gas explosion. We constantly, or I don't know for every other person, but I have constantly queried and questioned why we have, if you look at this building now, therefore you have that, there's a school beside it, and then you probably would have a gas station, right? But I haven't seen the picture of a gas station. So the only reason anybody would believe that, this was not a deliberate attack, it was not, some persons going there to put out the explosive, would be that we need to understand if you have a gas station beside it. There's no way you're going to explain that if there's no gas station, whether it's a retail shop or a store or it's a fueling station. But we constantly have talked about the danger of having all of that. You move around across different parts of Nigeria, you would see that there are a lot of disasters waiting to happen. And then those who would call on God will call on God, and those who would say, oh, the devil has come afterwards, the demons in our villages, and what have you, call your grandfather, your grandmother, because they are the witches and wizards that are haunting you. But we constantly forget that our action every other time. I could see a head. That would be a head of a child. It's really sad and unfortunate. And some of the disasters that we actually face are man-made. They are caused by us deliberately. So like I said, we're waiting that the relevant authorities will get through to it and then they investigate the exact situation with that explosion, whether it is, a terrorist attack or it's just carelessness on our part where you have that explosion because you have a gas station or retail station close to it. It was really dangerous. And I asked, who are those? Because that's why you have government. I say that all the time. Governance is not about vying for election and, contesting, wanting to become the president and the governor, and that's it. It doesn't end there. It goes beyond all of that. We need to pay attention to things like this. And then we make comparison to, the developed climate. These things almost don't happen, right? How do you now have a gas station close to a residential area? It's not done. Even in the movies, you don't see that happen. It's a disaster. It would happen. An explosion would occur.
Waiting to happen,
yes,
really.
And I have seen a lot. There's a certain time, there's a popular church in a certain city where you have, the church is in the middle of a gas station. And on the other hand, it's in the middle of a retail. He's just waiting to explode. It would explode. But who gives the approval? Because before you acquire property, a landed property, someone would have to approve it. And in whose purview is it?
The state government.
Exactly. So who's giving approval to all of this? Why do we have filling stations? Why do we have gas stations in residential and commercial areas? It's not supposed to be so. Can we just have it in an area? And then if you begin to say, okay, you already have gas, gas stations around or filling stations around a certain area, then you should not consider having, residential, permit around this certain
yes,
area.
a whole lot needs
So,
to be checked,
I mean, it's depressing. It's really depressing.
It is very depressing. Like you have said, when town planners, when city planners give approvals for how a city would be run, there is a master plan. And over time, this master plan is changed just to accommodate some other people or even some greedy people, as you said. But then, it behoves on the government to ensure that everyone who lives in a particular area is safe. When you give your approvals, what's the initial plan? Is it supposed to be a commercial area? Is it supposed to be residential? And once it's been approved to be residential, some activities are not exactly meant to be there. Gas station, filling station, and other highly combustible, the substances being close to where people live should not be what we are talking about at this particular time. We've lost a whole lot of lives in Nigeria. We don't need to be, burdened with people dying from preventable causes. This is one I feel would have been prevented if the report of the police is anything to go by. Then this is a really sad situation which could have been prevented. All right, let's move away from Kano State and go to Ondo State, specifically Akure, the state capital, where we hear that some say police, some say soldiers dispersed protesting students with gunshots. Everyone has the right to a peaceful demonstration, peaceful protest. And these students were actually protesting the fact that they didn't want to stay at home. Again, it's all in the wake of this ASU strike that, if you ask me, has lingered on for too much. So they stormed the streets and were protesting, and there was like a backlash. And from what reports said, men of the Nigerian army, some other reporters said police, tried to disperse them. But police actually shot at protesting students, and I wonder where we're headed. Why shoot at students who are protesting, except it went all right, except they were becoming very violent. You could have just dispersed them with tear gas. The better ways to go about these things.
And you're very correct, because that's what we constantly talk about. In the course of discharging your duty as a police officer, and whether or not you're a police officer, the most important thing is that we need to go about our jobs as very civil persons. That's what's required. So whether you're a police officer or you're not a police officer, you also need to understand that you're dealing with human beings. And that's why I say that we have lost humanity. Humanity has been lost, especially for us in Nigeria. Constantly you see reactions from a human to another human, and then you ask yourself, what exactly is going on? Are we even in the right frame of mind? Are these persons really thinking straight? It's very sad. And it will not stop, because there's been calls for the reform of the police. These police officers, do they even understand what's going on? Do they understand it? Do they even know what the slogan of the police says? I think that we need a time, because over time you have recruitment and all sort of recruitment. You need to get to a point where there's a refresher, where you have a course, a refresher course, whatever it is. You have to have that training and training cannot stop and should not stop for a sensitive organization or agency, if you want to say, that's saddled with so much responsibility of ensuring that peace is maintained, in a civil society, law and order is actually maintained. It's a lot for the police. But if they do not understand the assignment that they're given, if they don't understand the purpose, how then do you expect that they should perform? So that's why we constantly would see all of this negatives, and then we'll see contrary behavior. The Nigerian, how many people would want to agree? Do they even understand that the slogan for the police is that police is your friend? If someone is your friend, would you shoot at them? That's the question. What will make you shoot at your friend? No matter what it is. I'm sure that we come to a point where we are able to, despite the disagreement, you're able to, come to a point of consensus.
Yes.
A point of compromise. So I think that a lot needs to be done, and that's why you had a lot of persons, young people, apart from young people, because those are not necessarily young people, but Nigerians taking to the street and saying, hey, we're protesting the police brutality and how they go about their job. Nobody saying the police shouldn't go about their job, but how do you even go about your job? Do you go about extorting, harassing, and killing people? Is that part of the modus operandi of your job? Is that what the job... Because everybody has a job specification. So in the course of it, they say, oh, when you go, you should carry a machete, take a bottle, hit, be violent, shoot, kill. At what point do you shoot? When should you shoot? Do they understand all of this? And for those who are committing, and those people who have actually violated the law, if that's not what the police conduct or code actually says, and those who have actually gone contrary to it, have they been arrested? Has justice been meted? Have they been dismissed? Has the law taken its course? We can continue to act like this and expect a different result, because it tells, it just tells us that we have no regard. There's no regard for human life. I mean, everything is going on, and it's really tiring. It's really tiring. But nobody would change it now, Justin. God will not come from heaven and change it. Nothing, no miracle is going to happen for us.
You're right. It's not about miracles. The fact is that it is a conscious effort, because we are the only ones that can salvage our country, the situation by ourselves. So we don't need Americans. We don't need the Western world to just come and tell us what to do. We know what is right to do. And we know what is meant to be done. If anyone commits any sort of infraction or during a protest, you know your standards of or rule of operation, you know your rule of engagement. You're not supposed to be shooting at civilians. You're not supposed to be shooting at protestants. I don't know if Bessie talked about training and retraining of the police. I think I will go with that. And aside from just training, they need some sort of mental evaluation, mental test before they get into this particular force, because it is something that has to do with psychology, because you just can't get someone who is almost raging mad, bring them to the force, and or someone who has some anger issues, or someone who's not being able to cope with some of the issues that is plaguing him or that are plaguing him, and you now bring them to the force with all the frustration. They need to see a shrink. They need to see a psychologist. They need to talk about issues bugging them. So at the end of the day, those can be controlled. Those things can be checked. So they will not just wrongfully be taking out their frustrations on innocent Nigerians who just want to press home, their grievances, their demands, and asking for better education in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. But how do you even explain that? Because we live in a climate society where there are no jobs, and so for every time you have, you have advertorial going out saying this police recruitment, you find every other person. Everyone wants to, because you just want to get a job. And so everybody gets into the system. But do we even have a standard? Do we even measure all of this? So it's a systemic failure. We need to address all of these issues. And like we constantly would say, it's not an excuse for bad behavior, but we're saying that even those who are in the system, what's the level of motivation? Do they even understand what they're about? Do these people understand that you are not guilty until you're being proven by a court of competent jurisdiction? Do they even understand what the Constitution says? And that's why even, I'm going to digress a bit, but it brings us back to some of the issues that we're faced with. You don't even want to encounter a police officer handling a situation of rape. You would be disgruntled. You would be disappointed with the kind of questions that will be put out. So we need to overhaul the system. It's faulty, and we cannot pretend, and we cannot fold our arms and act that everything is okay and everything is all right. Why would you shoot at people who are protesting? Do they constitute as a threat to you and national security? So at what point do you even go ahead to shoot is the question. But do you even, because if you understand that everyone is a suspect, you're just a suspect. At what point do we even also understand that you don't have a right, the warrant and all of that needs to go on? So people we live like rascals. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse my language, but that's what it is.
It is really sad. And again, we'll still have to talk about all the remote causes as well, aside from the fact that it is a police issue, that's the immediate cause, the short-term at students protesting. Accountability, do they account for the rounds of bullets given to them, or just that they could just go and just shooting or go on a shooting spree? But the remote causes I was talking about, the ASU and every other thing, if the students had been in school, mercy, some of these things would have been avoided in the first instance. If the federal government does not renege on promises made since 2009, we'll be singing maybe a very wonderful tune right now, not just some sad one. I'm tired of all of these cases of Nigerians just dying, when it could have been prevented.
So should we wait for all of this to happen? We're saying that I would always cite an example in a family setting. Do I have to shout to my parents that I am hungry or that they are in need of basic things? This thing should come to you by virtue of being part of a family. These are basic things that should happen. It's really embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. If no one is embarrassed, I am embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that we strike. So I have experienced strike action.
In Nigeria.
And it feels like it has become a culture. It's part of the educational system for Nigeria that students have to be on strike. And at the end of the day, you have the government and you have, these association, ASU, of course. Salaries will still be going on for them. Who's losing at the end of the day? The students. Time is gone and what have you. It doesn't even make sense. Do we need all of this to continue before we're able to sort out the issues? And if we constantly proclaim, because there's no need. I would, want to query and question any, politician or any public officer or anyone who would wake up to say, oh, education is a bedrock of a nation. Which nation are we talking about? Nigeria? Because our action would always tell what we believe. So it's another thing for us to, mount a certain thing. We begin to say certain things, but we act in a different way. And then the issue of integrity is it, because there's no correlation with what you say with your action. So why then do we come up to say, oh, education, the youths are tomorrow? And then we constantly, why? Because we're looking at this, it's a younger generation. These are young people. And what are we doing to educational sector? We have all it takes to fix it. The lecturers are not supposed to go on strike. If you look at some of the consents that they are asking for, they are valid. They're very valid things. Asking for, an enabling environment, very safe, asking for basic infrastructure. Firsthand as a student, you will walk into a lecturer's office. It is not, there's no power supply. So you find a lecturer, probably maybe they have the means to take care of themselves at home. They can power their house. Then they have all of the comfort. And then you come to a classroom, you're in your office. It's very hot. Don't you get it? They get agitated. They begin to feel some side of way. Sometimes people don't want to get angry because they're angry birds. It's not that. But you just find out that you find yourself in a certain situation, you're hungry, you're angry, everywhere is hot. You get angry. You begin to take it out on the people around you. We can do better for these persons. If these are people who are molding the future of the other generation, then we can do better. But we need to move away.
Yes, we can do better. But that's as much as we can take on Top Trending. Top Trending returns again tomorrow. We'll take a quick break, and when we'll come back, we'll be looking at what the papers are saying this morning on Off the Press. To join us again.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. From the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
All right, welcome back. It is the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Just before we move on to off the press, just a bit of retraction. Actually, the ASU striker, it was actually the military men who allegedly disrupted protesting students in Ondo State. Let me just give you a complete background of the story. Now, some military men yesterday disrupted the protest embarked upon by joint students of public universities in Ondo State over the prolonged strike of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU. Now, the angry students started the protest on Monday and barricaded the Akure-Elisha Expressway in Akure, the state capital, preventing vehicular movements and caused traffic logjam for several hours. So the right information, it was actually the army, the military who shot at the students and not the police. So we move on to off the press. Messi.
Well, on off the press, we have Tunde Kolawole, who joins the conversation this morning. And Tunde, it's good to have you join us this morning on The Breakfast.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll start off with the Nigerian Tribune. On the Nigerian Tribune, we'll pay attention to the top captions or top story, if you like to put. 10 days to presidential primaries, sadden PDP leaders weigh fresh option. I like what's going to happen. I mean, it's going to be a lot of drama. That's what I anticipate before we get to the election date. So a lot will happen. 10 days to presidential primaries. Sadden PDP leaders weigh fresh options. What could that be? I'm sure you want to find out. You also have presidency to NEF. You wallow in delusional arrogance over Nigerians' existence. That is so much. And Deborah, suspects cannot be tried for mere breach of public peace. That's what the NBA is quoted to say. Anyway, from that, you have 9 bodies recovered at scene of Kano explosion. And gunmen list 10 Anambra local government areas for attack. This is not a threat to national security. This is not a challenge to the chief, chief commander of the Federal Republic of... Am I correct? I mean, try to put me on, because I'm trying to say that whoever is controlling the security architecture, this should be an embarrassment. Officer. Exactly. Gunmen list 10 Anambra local governments for attack. So much audacity. Wow. Convention. Confusion persists over delegates election as APC inaugurates panel. I am not running to be president. AFDB President Adesina and 2023 U.S. vows to impose visa restriction on promoters of violence. Okay, we've heard a lot of that. Stop IPOP from using your platform to incite violence, federal government tells Facebook. Really? Okay. These are the headlines on the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, we'll move away from that to the Daily Independent. Other lead story, private insurance accounts at risk as NPF Malls insurance outfit. Two riders there. Stakeholders say it's unnecessary. It won't be run as a business. May not obey NICOM regulations. One insurance is complex. More stories on the front page of the Daily Independent. Gunmen list 9 Anambra council areas for attack. Wow. I won't retire from politics until I'm president. Tinubu. NEMA recovers 9 bodies from Kano explosion site. Nigeria requires $11 trillion to close infrastructure gap. That's according to experts. NDLEA arrests drug baroness, Seals Mansion, drug bank or bunks in Warri. Convention, PDP in confusion over venue, adjust dates of primaries. Governor Otom lobbies Jonathan to attend convention. Why Nigeria needs urgent all-round resetting by Fayemi. Presidency criticizes Northern elders over divisive statement. Deborah, NBA condemns killing, postpones Sokoto conference. FG to Facebook, stop IPOB from using your platform to incite violence. Those are all of the stories on the front page of the Daily Independent.
Well, we need to move away from the Daily Independent newspaper this morning and check out all the papers available to us by the newspaper vendor. You will also have The Nation.
Yeah, The Nation and The Punch.
All right. So on The Nation, presidential governorship primaries, APC begins process. That's what you find as boldly written. Federal government puts Facebook under watch over IPOBs.
Wow.
But, okay, I will leave that to fly. Support for separatists unacceptable. And again, you have Amotekun success max restructuring imperative, says Bauchi governor. Away from that, you have delegates election tomorrow. Governorship candidate shadow poll on Friday. Soldiers chase away protesting students in Akure. And you also have EFCC relocates arrested accountant general. Why?
Maybe to another prison.
Huh?
Maybe to another prison.
Huh? Say
Maybe
again?
to another prison.
Why? Maybe his life is under threat. I really don't know how these things work. 9 die, many injured in Kano gas explosion. Deborah NBA shaves Sokoto conference. These are the headlines this morning you find on The Nation. And just before we move away, Amoteku success makes restructuring imperative, says Bauchi governor.
All right, the last paper we're reviewing this morning is The Punch. The lead story for this morning, CAN, that's the Christian Association of Nigeria Plateau, Benue churches adamant insist on Sunday protests. With some riders there ignore governor's warnings against demonstrations, seek justice for Deborah. No street protests, say Plateau Borno government. El-Rufai wants troublemakers. NBA Islam's Tambuwal wants a murder charge for suspects. Police advise CAN. Jet A1 Airlines marketers 480 naira per litre supply deal crushes. Product sells for 612 naira per litre. Just above the masthead, abductees' families vow to stop Abuja-Kaduna train resumption. Poly lecturers plan indefinite strike from June. ASU knocks Nwajuba. EFCC arrest ex-speaker Ete over 240 million NDDC contract. Federal government fails to allocate over 1,300 megawatts. Blackout looms. Nigeria's fourth quarter trade deficit rose by 175%, hit $764 million. That's according to the CBN. 9 killed in Kano. Police residents disagree on explosion. NCAA warns pilots, airlines over hazardous weather. Alpha dismembers female customer. Police recover body parts. Choose female deputies, Aisha Buhari tells presidential aspirant. Those are the bulk of the stories on the Punch newspaper this morning.
Tunde Kolawole, it's good to have you join us this morning on The Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
It's all right. Tunde Kolawole is a legal practitioner. Would like to share your thoughts on the headlines. I mean, there are a lot of headlines, but I start off with the Nigerian Tribune. Looking at the Nigerian Tribune, 10 days to presidential primaries, saddened PDP leaders weigh fresh options. What do you make of all of this?
Well, about a few days ago, one of the members of the Board of Trustees of the PDP had raised an alarm that the PDP holding its convention very close to that of the APC, and in the same area, at the same town or city, Abuja, is not ideal for the party. That was Chief Bode George. And he has advised the PDP to move its convention to Lagos, where he said the environment will be more conducive, hotel accommodation not a challenge, and transportation easy to access. It is not impossible that it is this alarm that was raised by Chief Bode George that has now influenced the confusion that is said to now exist in the PDP with regards to the convention that he intends to hold. My take on that is that when you are holding a very huge convention, like that of the PDP or that of the APC and other, you need to take into consideration the challenges of logistics so as to have an effective convention. It is not too late for the PDP to correct or find solutions to some of the problems that they might be having with regards to this convention, and then take appropriate action so that the party can have a very successful convention. Because a lot of Nigerians are looking forward to the PDP and what it is going to do from 2023 election. Without an option to the APC, the country could not cannot decide to be moving forward politically or to be able to choose where certain candidates and certain persons are filled by the other leading parties. And those parties, those candidates haven't met the expectations of Nigeria. It is in our general interest as a people that the PDP is able to get its act together and be able to stand as a credible alternative to the APC.
All right, Tunde Kolawole, let's stay with the Nigerian Tribune. Deborah Samuel's death is still making headlines in different angles by the day. But let's take it the way the Nigerian Tribune captions it. The NBA is saying that suspects can't be tried for mere breach of public peace. I'm trying to understand all of that. There's an issue of alleged murder here, and there are also talks of breach of public peace. I mean, what gives here, really, Barrister Kolawole?
Well, I have been reading most of the things that have been published on Deborah, and the notes that we are getting from Sokoto State, especially from the government of Sokoto State, is very, very discomforting. Before the MDA also took its decision to postpone its convention, to postpone this conference, the tune coming from the NBA wasn't reassuring at all. The truth of the matter is that it does appear that the government of Sokoto State is not ready to prosecute those who have been alleged to have killed this young lady. For God's sake, the crime that has been committed with the killing of that lady is murder. And then defacing of a dead body. That is, after they killed the lady, they put gasoline on her and burnt her body. We are not supposed to do that in a decent society. So, but like it has happened in the past, history seems to be repeating itself. Go and check your history, whether it's that of Akaluka or that of one lady who was killed, I think, sometimes long ago, a teacher in Bauchi who tried to stop some students from cheating in the public exam. And then she was run immediately arrested and accused of blasphemy and set ablaze by her own students. None of those blasphemous cases where people have been killed, been prosecuted diligently. Too many times, the government to set the people free. It is for this reason that the MD has listened to the words of wisdom, not to be seen, to be kind of consulting with a government like that of Sokoto State that is not ready to do the needful concerning the death of the heinous crime that has been committed with regards to this Deborah's case. The withdrawal, the postponement of the convention will send appropriate signal to the Sokoto State government and also to the communities, religious fundamentalists who have been demonstrating and insisting that those who have been alleged to have committed this crime should be set free. Ironically, you will recollect that there is still a boy, a young boy, who was alleged to have posted blasphemous things on his WhatsApp and then he was promptly arrested by the Ishma, that is the Islamic police in Kano, and taken to a Sharia court. He has been convicted for blasphemy. I think his case is now before the Court of Appeal and all that. Governments that are eager to arrest people who are said to have committed blasphemy and then prosecute them will also be the one that those who commit this kind of crime, this egregious crime of killing a lady who has been alleged to commit blasphemy, and then go to court and file wishy-washy complaints against those persons. For God's sake, killing of a human being, defacing of dead body, is totally different from that of disturbance of public peace. The Sokoto State government must be made to do the needful with regards to the killing of Sephora. Secondly, you and I will know that in the northern part of the country, they are operating three systems of law. They have the Sharia, they have the penal code, and then in some parts, you have the common law and then criminal code that is applied with regard to crimes that are committed in society. And then in southern Nigeria, we use the criminal code and the common law. For God's sake, Nigeria is supposed to be a secular state in which the systems of the different systems of law that are being used in different parts of the country ought not to have arisen at all.
All right, Jide Johnson, let's move away from that now and look at the Daily Independent. On the Daily Independent, you have a part of the story that talks about the federal government to Facebook saying, stop IPOB from using your platform to incite violence. Do you think that this is rational? Do you also expect this from the federal government? Should the federal government be engaging with Facebook, or should the federal government be engaging with these persons who are displeased and who have also put out their concerns as regards why they're asking for a federal republic or self-governance?
Well, while I do agree that some people abuse the social media, and the abuse of the social media is a tragedy. Tragedy in the sense that I consider the social media as a democratizing media. It is a media that has put information, platforms, opportunities in the hands of the ordinary person all over the world. The social media is therefore a platform to cherish, but people abuse it. But in spite of that, I'm not too sure that the threat that the federal government is always issuing or dishing to some of the social media like Twitter, like Facebook and whatever, I'm not too sure that is the appropriate steps to take. When you look at Facebook, for example, it has given us the opportunity to complain, to report, to make even block certain partners whose messages we don't want to see on our platform. Why don't the federal government explore all those opportunities for of reporting those who are abusing the social media, whether it's the IPOP or some other groups in society, rather than issuing threats to them? If after you have reported IPOP or Facebook that they are abusing the platform, and then the Facebook people refuse to take whatever necessary steps they ought to have taken, and you can be issuing threats as the federal government is doing now. So this is like putting the cat before the horse. The needful should be done. Take the right step first, and then when you don't get the right result, then you can begin to take some other measures. Furthermore, I want to appeal to all those people who are using the social media that we need to be careful not to play into the hands of those who want to put one form of restrictions or the other, or who want to start curtailing the opportunity that the social media has given us by posting things that are ordinarily not truthful, by posting things that can endanger public peace, posting things that irritate not just the responsibility of the individual, but also their conscience. Because when we allow people in government to begin to regulate the social media, the opportunity, the democratizing opportunity that media have given us will be lost and may not be recovered again for a very, very long time to come.
All right, Barrister Kolawole, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. I just want you to comment on this particular story. Still on Deborah, Khan, their lead story, Khan, Plateau, Benue churches adamant insist on Sunday protest. In as much as Plateau State and the governor of Borno State, even El Rufai, have warned residents not to embark on street protests. Khan and Plateau, in Plateau and Benue, are insisting they'll protest on Sunday. What are your thoughts?
Well, I am in support of the protest. I've always said it times without number that in all decent societies, in all democratic societies, the right of protest is always guaranteed. And here in Nigeria too, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended amply guarantees the freedom to protest without hindrance in any part of the country. When people are embarking on protest, what the government at the state level, whether at the local government level, whether at the federal level, are supposed to do is to provide security for those who are protesting and make sure that the protest is not hijacked by hoodlums or infiltrated by hoodlums. And if you don't allow people to protest, the signal you are sending out is that when you beat a child is not supposed to cry. Whereas, in all decent societies, if you don't go to court to ventilate your grievances, if you don't go to the community level, maybe the Oba's Palace, the churches, the mosque and whatever, to solve problems, to solve disputes and whatever, one of the other steps, and one of even stronger steps than even going to court, is to go onto the street and let the people, especially people in government, who have not done what you expect them to do, to know where the shoe is pinching you. So we must encourage the culture of protest, peaceful protest, and also guarantee that protests are not hijacked by hoodlums when people embark on them. In the case of ANPP, versus the Inspector General of Police, the Court of Appeal has amply said that, look, the right of protest is a fundamental human right that cannot be taken away from any Nigerian in any part of the country, no matter what the circumstances are.
All right, the Daily Independent, Barrister Kolawole, let's move to that paper. Just away from the banner headline, there is a story also making headlines there. Gunmen list 9 Anambra Council areas for attack. This time around, they're actually warning ahead of time areas they will be attacking in that particular state. What does all of that tell you?
Well, what is going on in the Southeast today pains me a lot. One is not happy with what is going on in there. whether they be government, whether they be IPOP, or any of these other splinter groups. The truth of the matter is that the properties that are being destroyed may look like merely ordinary government properties or public properties. But when you look critically about those, with regard to those infrastructures, you will find out that those infrastructures are designed to serve the general public. And when infrastructure are designed to serve the general public and you are destroying them, what you are doing is creating hardship for your people. So if you say you are struggling for the independence of your people, for them to have life more abundant, for them not to suffer any deprivation, whether political, economic, or social, or culturally, and all that, then you don't start destroying the infrastructure upon which a society is built. You don't start weakening yourself. You don't start weakening the people's struggles you have put on your head. You say you are fighting for. Because the destruction of basic infrastructure in the Southeast is like it's like somebody cutting his own nose in order to spite it. And that doesn't go well, and it will not even, in the long run, promote the cause for which either IPOB, MASOP, or any of these other self-determination groups are fighting for. So I appeal to whoever may be behind the destruction of public infrastructure in the Southeast. So please think deeply about the consequences of those actions and also stop it forthwith. Like I said, on one of these platforms, we should learn from the example of Mahatma Gandhi. We should learn from the example of Martin Luther King, that it is possible to achieve independence, it is possible to achieve self-determination, it is possible to set our people free by using the medium of non-violence to achieve our goals.
But Tunde Kolawole, if you also, talking about not using violence and following the patterns of, all the persons who have actually fought for self-determination and self-governance, IPOP, the IPOP leader, as it's been believed, Nnamdi Kanu, has also said that those who are perpetrating this evil are masquerading, they are impersonating IPOP and are carrying out all of this violence. And so what do you have to say about this? Because it's been made to believe that IPOP is responsible for the violence that's been experienced in the southeastern part of Nigeria, but you have a disclaimer that has been put out prior to this time.
Well, it's unfortunate and very, very tragic. I should think it was the way IPOP began his campaign, especially when he started having the Eastern Nigeria Security Network, and prisons were being attacked, and some other places, for public places being burnt down. The signal and the messages that we were getting from IPOP at that period in time gave people the impression that IPOP was behind all those activities and all that. But the truth of the matter is, since IPOP came into existence, some other groups have also emerged in the Southeast. In fact, before IPOP, we had MASOP and some other splinter groups all over the place. All of them geared towards securing independence for the people of southeastern Nigeria. Well, you should also know that certain persons also engage in these criminal activities, not just in the Southeast, but also in the Southwest and also in the North, in another part of the country. Of course, the horrendous violence that the so-called bandits are inflicting on northern Nigeria is there. You also know at the time, certain tribes were said to be engaging in kidnapping and cattle rustling, also in the southwest of Nigeria, India. So, violence begets violence. And a society that wants to develop, that wants to know peace, that wants to grow, that wants to solve the problem of unemployment, shouldn't engage whatsoever in the destruction of public infrastructure, because public infrastructure is the foundation upon which the society is laid. And I will also appeal to the federal government to look into the case of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu and resolve it politically.
All right.
Nnamdi Kanu's case is not a case to be resolved by the court. It's a political case which the court has no business meddling with. If you're able to unravel, if you're able to solve, if you're able to address the Mr. and some of the fundamental issues that have been raised by IPOP and some of these other self-determination groups all over Nigeria, I am sure the country will be on the path to making progress.
All right, thank you,
and
Barrister
enjoying peace all over the places.
Thank you so much for your thoughts, Tunde Kolawole, legal practitioner. Thanks for joining us on Off the Press this morning.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so that's the size of this particular segment. We will take a break, but not before telling you what happened this day in history. We'll come back and talk on our first conversation for the day. Do join us again.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Whatever we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
All right, welcome back. Is this the Breakfast on Plus TV Africa? We are looking at health issues. Specifically, yesterday was the World Hypertension Day. We'll be looking at all of that this morning. In the wake of it all, the Hypertension Day, that is, which has as a theme, measure your blood pressure accurately, control it, live longer. Medical experts, including the World Health Organization, Nigeria Medical Association, NMA, and the Nigerian Heart Foundation, NHF, have warned that the prevalence of hypertension in the country is on the rise. Now, this, they said, is due to prevailing insecurity and poor socio-economic condition. Specifically, Executive Director of the NHF, Dr. Kingsley Akinroye, said the prevalence of hypertension is estimated to be between 30 and 40% of Nigeria's over 200 million population, which is in the range of 60 to 80 million Nigerians. We're looking at the impact of all of this. We have a public health practitioner, founder, market doctor, Dr. Yetunde Ayo Oyalowo. Thanks for joining us on The Breakfast this morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it is indeed a pleasure. Striking number, statistics there, about 60 to 80 million Nigerians having hypertension. It is also alarming that most of them are not actually seeking treatment because they're not even aware that they have hypertension. Tell us what the incidence is like in the country.
Okay, so good morning, everybody, again. So we already have the incidence. I mean, Dr. Akinroye has said between 30 to 40% of the population, and that's the data we have. But we know that most of the time, our data in Nigeria isn't very accurate because the data you have is probably from people coming into the hospitals, not even from screening exercises going on across the country. So because hypertension is a silent killer, most people is referred to as a silent killer because you're not likely to have any symptom. You're not likely to feel anything, you know, or by the time people start to feel symptoms, then it means that there is already an advancement of the condition. So, I mean, it's difficult to say this is the exact number, but we know that because of the factors that are skewed towards us, being that we're black, when you're black, the incidence is higher. Of course, it's also higher in men. You know, so because we have all of that, we know that there will be a lot of people that are hypertensive. Whether they now know they're hypertensive or not is another kettle of fish. So that's what I have to say.
So, but let's get to, because at this point in time, we have to find out, you know, the causes and how we can prevent or manage the situation. So what are the likely causes of this? A lot of people will think that, I mean, if you're into a lot of thinking and all of that, you probably might just have a tendency of becoming hypertensive. But you're a practitioner. Can you kindly take us through what would be the likely causes of being hypertensive?
So the causes of hypertension are varied, you know, and there's some causes, there's some things we call the risk factors, you know, because you cannot, for some people, it's inherited, it's hereditary. You know, it's just it's just part of their genetic makeup. So they're going to be hypertensive probably because someone in their family, other people in their family have been hypertensive. But even in these cases, for those that is genetic, there are ways that they can prevent being hypertensive, or let me say manage, you understand, getting to the extremes of being hypertensive, manage the symptoms and the signs and the the complications that may arise. However, generally speaking, we have things like being overweight, as a cause of hypertension, being obese. We have lack of physical activity. I mean, when I mean physical activity, we know that a lot of people now go out walking, jogging, and all of that. But I must say that each person needs to have a definite way of exercising. It's not one cap fits all. So the fact that someone walks for 1 hour doesn't mean that the other person too can walk for 1 hour and it be sufficient for the person. So we really need to be specific in the kind of exercises, kind of physical activity we're doing. The other thing that I'll say is too much salt in the diet. And we know in this part of the world, in Nigeria, we take a lot of salt. And we're saying that we should not add salt to food once it's on the table, because a lot of times, even though we've put salt in food, then we add it to the table. Too much alcohol is also one of the causes of hypertension, and it will aggravate it in someone who already has hypertension. So we're advocating, because I know this will be a sore point for a lot of people, we're advocating that we should not have more than 1 to 2 drinks per day. Then stress. Stress is also a cause of hypertension, and in the country we're in, we know that stress, virtually everybody is stressed for one reason or the other, whether the reason or the other even concerns you. But when you look at the economy, you look at the diesel issue, petrol, traffic, I mean, there's a lot of stress factors, ASU strike and all of that. And that is to say that before, hypertension used to be seen in people who are older than 40, but this has reduced now. We're having people in their 30s being diagnosed as hypertensive. Then, of course, the older the age, the tendency that someone will also be hypertensive. Then there are other diseases like kidney diseases, adrenal diseases that could cause hypertension, but I think generally I've glossed through the causes of hypertension.
All right, Dr. Oyalowo, let's talk more about this hypertension, maybe to get better clarity. Hypertension, high blood pressure, does it inevitably mean that if you have high blood pressure, automatically you are hypertensive?
So, high blood pressure is somewhat classified. It's somewhat classified, and I don't. If I go in for the sake of those who are listening, I don't think the classification is important for them. I think it's the number that is important for them, and we normally say in the medical climb that people should know their number. People should know their number, and we are saying that in 2022, your normal blood pressure should be, we measure it saying a number over another number. We're saying high blood pressure your blood pressure measurement should be about 120 over 80. 120 being the higher measurement, that's the systolic, we call it the systolic, but that's not, the name is not important now. That's the upper number, should be 120 or lower, and the lower number should be 80 or lower. So 120 over 80 should be the M. If you fall above 120, maybe you are still hovering 130 over 80 over 85, then you are having an elevated, it's not yet hypertension, but you are having an elevated blood pressure. And in this situation, there are still things you can do that can bring the blood pressure down to normal. Things like exercising, adjusting your lifestyle, adjusting your diet. All of those things can be done to bring the blood pressure down to 120/80. But when we have blood pressure above 130/90, 130 to 139, 130 to 140 over 90, then we can definitively say that the person is hypertensive and the person needs care. And when I mean care, the person needs adjustment of lifestyle and medications as well to be able to control the blood pressure.
So maybe we need to get to the fundamental. I mean, what exactly is hypertension?
So putting it simply is just to say increase in the pressure of the blood. increase in blood pressure. And I will just say, use the example of a water pipe. You know, if you're using a water pipe and let me say diameter is wide, or if the water pipe is big, if the pipe is big, then when you pump in water, the pressure will be low because, I mean, there's a lot of space for it to pass through. But in hypertension, it means that when you put in water into that pipe, the bore may have become thinner, and it takes a lot of pressure for the water to come out. So it's actually gushing. You know the way water comes out when you put up like a pressure pump. It's gushing. That is when we call what we call hypertension. When that happens in the blood system, that is hypertension. Ordinarily, the blood should move around the body without any pressure. You understand? But all within a particular pressure range, we should be lower than 120/80. We should be around that. But whenever there is an increase in this pressure, then that is when we can say there's a condition called hypertension in the person.
So you talked about lifestyle adjustment and living better lives, as it were. But specifically now, you also talked about medication. Is it something that you have to be placed on for the rest of your life, or it's something that goes away after a particular time?
Okay, so I'm really happy to talk about this because a trend that we normally see in Nigeria is that people share medications for hypertension. You know, a sister comes to visit a brother and says, "Oh, I've been told I have high blood pressure," or in the normal parlance, they said I have BP. You know, and the brother brings out a pack of drugs and says, "This is what I'm using. You to go and get it." You know, and start using it. So we have people just prescribing to each other, you know, by using the packets of medications and, you know, just getting to the pharmacy and taking those medications. I would want to say that that is not how to treat high blood pressure. I think the first thing is that it must be diagnosed by a medical practitioner, and there are lots of primary healthcare centers, private hospitals available where you can actually see a doctor and get a proper measurement and assessment. Because apart from the measurement, the doctor will also want to know what the cause is. Sometimes the cause of the high blood pressure can be treated. So sometimes it's not just about taking the blood pressure drugs that maybe someone close to you, a friend or a relative is using. Sometimes they may need to actually treat what is causing it. And once that is treated, your blood pressure will return to normal. The other thing to note is that blood pressure cannot be treated at once. It's not an infectious disease like malaria or chest infection that once you've been given the dose and you take it, that's the end. No. Blood pressure has to be, it's a medication you are placed on and that you will probably take throughout your life. But the medications will not be taken the same way. And that is why it's important that if you have been diagnosed as as being hypertensive, you need to visit your medical practitioner regularly, at least once in a month, because as they monitor your blood pressure, if it's decreasing, if you're doing well with the medication, they may adjust the medications and reduce it. And who knows, if they're able to treat the cause now, after some time, you may be able to manage it with lifestyle adjustment. So for some people, if you are regular with your medical practitioner and you are able to monitor it and treat it, you may be able to revert back to manage it with lifestyle adjustments. But if that is not the case, the medications you're using needs to be monitored. And sometimes if we find that the blood pressure is not being treated properly, we may decide to increase the medications. Sometimes we may decide to change the medication altogether. Sometimes we may also need to monitor the side effects of the medication. If you're having side effects with the medication, we may need to monitor it or counsel you on how to use the medication.
But doctor,
So
let
we
me
need to
butt in
know
here.
that,
Let me butt in. You talked about
manage with the practitioner.
okay. You talked about side effect. That's one of the reasons some people may not want to take the drugs religiously as it is. They feel that it hampers some sort of their lifestyle as it is. I've heard of people talked about libido issues, and some people have talked about how it makes them sweat more, how it makes them pee more. So what are the side effects of using hypertensive drugs?
So, well, the side effects are different, and it's different from one drug to the other. And besides, it's also different, ranging from one person to another. So two people can take exactly the same drugs, and they will not know, and they won't have the same side effects. But I would like to say that the side effects that these drugs cause, that is the reason why you need to visit your medical practitioner at regular intervals so that you can review the side effects and sometimes change or adjust the dosage. So for a side effect, like some people who will say, oh, I normally I urinate more when I take the medication. So we advise, instead of taking the medication at night, then take it in the morning. Some will say, oh, when I take the medications, I feel dizzy. So we'll say, okay, instead of taking it in the morning, then take it at night. And some people who have maybe libido problems, you can change. Sometimes you may need to change the medication altogether, because we're also looking at the quality of life of people whilst they have hypertension. But the bottom line is, besides, irrespective of the side effect, your heart has to be beating first for you to be alive, to be able to even feel a side effect. So we look at this and we weigh the options before taking a decision.
Can you buttress the point of who is at risk of, having all of this? You had talked about the risk factor. So can you elaborate on those who are at risk of becoming hypertensive, or having a high blood pressure, or whichever?
Okay, so I'd said that most of those who are hypertensive, that being a black person in the first instance is a risk factor.
So it's hypertension racist now?
Yeah, so hypertension is more common in blacks than in whites.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so hypertension is more common in blacks than in whites.
Any reason for that?
So it's genetic and it's quite complex, but it's just genetic. Just like when you say cancer is more common in whites than in blacks. You can put it to a lot of things. Even in blacks, we can probably look at our diet that has high salt, intake. We can look at obesity, saying that most of the time we like our women rounded, the kind of foods we eat. We can look at all of those factors, but basically underneath it is genetics.
All right, talking about lifestyle adjustment, you talked about, I actually took some jottings. You talked about too much alcohol intake. You talked about poor dieting and high cholesterol. Let's talk about this cholesterol part. Most people tend to not understand it, and they say they try to burn cholesterol or calories. At the end of the day, they mix both of them up. Elaborate, please.
Okay, so for cholesterol, for some people, before you know that you have high cholesterol, you have to be tested. And that's why we always say, see your physician. See your physician, because those are not things you can just look at someone and say, oh, you have high cholesterol. Generally people like to say, oh, this person is fat, or this person is overweight, or this person would have high cholesterol. No, it doesn't show on the face. There are slim people who have high cholesterol. And cholesterol, because I know it's a topic that a lot of people talk about, albeit they're not able to really explain the reasons behind it. So who are familial high cholesterolemia, that means they have a lot of cholesterol in their blood, and that is how it is in their family. Even when they don't take anything fatty, they don't take anything that should predispose them to have high cholesterol. It runs in their family, and they always have that. So it's when they monitor the results of their tests with their doctors, that is when the doctor will be able to say, okay, this is actually familial, this is genetic, so we are not bothered about it, as it were. For the other group of people, what high cholesterol does, like I told you, is just like looking at the blood vessel like a pipe, like a pipe that water is flowing through it. You will find out that after some time, there will be a lot of settlement on the pipe. A lot of dirt, dust, and all of that along the pipe. And it can eventually block the pipe. So that is what happens with cholesterol. There are deposits of plaques, on the walls of the blood vessels, and these are fat deposits, and they now clog the blood vessel and does not allow blood to flow very well. And for this reason, they get become hypertensive because the pressure in the blood vessels increase. So for people who have cholesterol, who have high cholesterol, there are medications available for them to use to be able to reduce the level of cholesterol they have in their system, but better is use of lifestyle adjustments, like adjustments of diet, engaging in physical activity, minding our weight, all of those things are very critical and important, when we talk about cholesterol. And to add, when you want to, there are a lot of fatty foods and this and that, but any fatty food that you enjoy, that is sweet, that you just love it, things like shrimp, things like roundabout, things they call orishirishi. Some people, when they go and eat, they have to eat all the parts of the cow. They have to ask for this, they'll point at the stew, oh, pick that one, no, not that one, the other one. All of those things have cholesterol in them. So that's just a simple way to know that, things that are fatty and they are really sweet and nice, very tasty, a lot of them contain cholesterol.
So it's probably sounding that we should be tilting towards things that are not sweet and nice and probably bitter. So.
No, they should be taken in moderation.
Oh, okay.
They should be taken in moderation, yes.
All right, so just before Justin jumps in right here, how can one actually tell that how do you now tell that you're probably hypertensive? What are the signs and symptoms? Of course, that with malaria, COVID, and what have you can actually say, okay, so I have malaria, I have COVID or something, because you can see the signs and symptoms.
For hypertension, we normally refer to it as a silent killer. So most of the time, there may be nothing. You may not feel anything. But we recommend that as people get to the age of 30, they should begin to check their blood pressure at least once a month at minimum. And if you see the theme for this year says measure your blood pressure accurately. The word accurately is very important. That means the world is also moving into the era of self-care. So it's important. The device for measuring your blood pressure is a device that anybody can use, especially, if you're educated, at least up to primary 6 level, you should be able to use it. So, an automated blood pressure meter can be used to measure the blood pressure. But there are a lot of things to be done to be sure that you measure your blood pressure accurately. And when you find it elevated, when it's above 120/80, it's time to go to the hospital and get to see a doctor and discuss about it. That way, you can prevent the complications, because most of the people get to know they're hypertensive when they have the complications. And the commonest complication we see around here is stroke. So most people get to know when they have a stroke. So I think it's important we measure accurately. That is the first step to take.
Doctor. Okay, all right, Dr. Oyalowo, let's talk more about, you talked about complications and all of that. Let's try and correlate it to blood sugar and all of that. What do we need to know?
So if you want to, generally we say people should know their numbers. So one, you need to know your weight. It's important that everybody knows their weight. It's important to know your height. So when you know your weight and height, there is a way we can get an index called the BMI, Basal Metabolic Index, which can be done for you by any health worker in.
All right, Dr. Oyolo, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, fine. You were saying the BMI and all. Yeah, we lost you at some point.
So besides that, they will begin to measure our blood pressure. So that means a device is used to measure the blood pressure. But I mean, as we advance in age also, we need to know our blood sugar level, which is measured by another device, a glucometer. That can be done at most pharmacies now. It can be done at most pharmacies now, and it can also be done in the healthcare centers. And for those who are educated, like I said, it can be done right at home. So it's something that can be learned, the device can be bought, and it can be done at home. So those are the things that we need to know. And using all of those, seeing our doctors with all of those numbers, they'll be able to advise better what to do.
All right, you talked about not really showing visible symptoms, but there have been talks about headaches, nausea, vomiting, and dizziness, and maybe blurred vision.
Yes. Okay, so people talk about nausea, headache, blood vision, and all of that. Those are also, they are unconstitutional symptoms. Yes, they could be for hypertension, but those are symptoms you could also have if you have a high fever. Those are symptoms you could also have if you have malaria. Those are symptoms you could have if you have any other disease. And that's why we say blood pressure is a silent killer. You may not have any of those symptoms and be hypertensive. And that's why some people just come down with a stroke without all of those symptoms. So we don't like to tell people that, oh, it's when you have a headache, then you have blood pressure. It could even be a problem of your eyesight that is causing the headache. So the nugget is that people should check their blood pressure even when they don't feel any sign or symptom.
All right, just before we let you go, the final question would be, at what point in time do you seek a second-line treatment?
So I've said that the aim is to have 120/80. Anything above that, please see your doctor.
All right, thank you so much. We have been speaking with Dr. Yetunde Ayo Oyalowo. She is the founder, Market Doctor. She is a public health practitioner. Thank you so much for the thoughts that you have shared this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, it is still the breakfast away from hypertension. We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll give you an update on what happened in Kano State and, of course, the train resumption, the Kaduna-Abuja bound. We have a guest who will tell us more about preparations and, of course, measures being put in place. In a moment, to join us again.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Welcome back. It's still the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Away from health matters, we'll be giving you an update of what happened in Kano State with the explosion and residents and police disagreeing over the cause of the inferno. And let's know about what the casualty figure is about and generally speaking, how the city of Kano, specifically Sapongeri, is right now. We have our correspondent in Kano State joining us right now, Stephen Enoch. Thanks for joining us on the breakfast, Stephen.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good morning to you, Stephen. So can you tell us exactly what is the situation as we speak since yesterday?
All right. So when I got to the scene of the incident this morning at 7 a.m., residents are angry at the government for saying it was a gas explosion. Many of them believe it was something different from a gas explosion. And what I could see in the eyes of the people this morning was just tears and anger. Many of them were not happy with what came out from the authorities yesterday. Also, last night when I went around the area, everywhere was silent, and little business activities were operating yesterday. And this morning, I met with a woman whose child was affected by the explosion yesterday. She did not want to speak on camera or want the visuals of her child taken. But what I could say is it was not good at all. She had so many injuries on her body, and she was moved to tears. She was crying, actually, yes. And I met a man who was just thanking God that he did not lose his child yesterday. He was, fast enough to take his child. And currently in Kano, everywhere is calm right now. Everywhere is calm. People are moving, but people are still at the scene of the incident. Many people are in groups discussing and, just airing their opinions as regards what happened yesterday. Yesterday, when I was at the press conference with NEMA, the team coordinator of Kano and Jigawa said that 9 dead bodies were recovered yesterday, and 10 people were injured as a result of the explosion that happened yesterday in Kano. Also, when I moved to some other parts of the city, about 3 kilometers away, I spoke with some residents who said they heard the vibration as a result of the explosion as far as 2-3 kilometers away from the scene of the incident.
Okay, Stephen, can you also tell us what you think the situation is? I mean, of course, you're on ground, you're in Kano, and do you agree with the police that it's just an explosion? But it has nothing to do with, it's just an explosion that might just be caused by the fact that, humans and those around have been careless. Yes. But not just necessarily a terrorist attack.
Okay, from what I saw this morning, a building, was raised down to the floor, and some people were affected. A car also was affected. Some other areas were affected. But I'm not, a bomb expert, and the authorities say it's a gas explosion. But from what I saw there, it looks like people think that it is not a gas explosion. That is what everybody on the streets are saying.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying the magnitude was, big, and it could be, different from, a gas explosion. But they said it was the cylinder of a welding machine that exploded yesterday.
So do you have any, going to the scene of this explosion, is there any cylinder? Is there anything? Do you have like a gas station close to the school? Are there anything that could cause this explosion?
Well, when I spoke to a resident who lost 2 of his brothers yesterday, he said there is no gas station there. Nobody sells gas there, but there was a welder there, and I don't know how it happened. Nobody knows how it happened, and there's so many narratives flying around, but the authorities are strongly saying that it was a gas explosion that happened yesterday.
From the welder?
Hello?
The gas explosion would be from the welder?
From the welder, yes. From the cylinder of the welding machine, yes.
But did you get to the, where the welder's station is?
Well, the building was raised down, and I could not see, any welding machine around. I could not see any cylinder. But the authorities said they came there and then they took the evidence, and, they are investigating the matter right now. But I could not see any cylinder around or any evidence of, a gas.
All right. Thank you, Stephen Enoch, our Kano State correspondent. We'll be talking to you in the course of the day, just in case there are more development you need to share with us. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
All right, it is still the breakfast. We'll take a very, very quick break, and we'll come back and get an update on the Kaduna train resumption in a moment. Stay with us.
let's bring you update on what's making the rounds as regards the Kaduna Abuja train resumption. And this is according to the directives that's been given by the government. We do have Innocent Ajiji joining the conversation. He'd be telling us what measures have been put in place to ensure safety of lives and properties. Innocent Ajiji, it's good to have you join us this morning on the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
So yes, we're in the note that the federal government has directed that there should be a resumption of the train service. Can you bring us up to speed? What are the measures that have been put in place by the government to ensure that lives are protected? We still also know that you have some citizens in captivity they are also still in captivity of these terrorists.
Thank you for the opportunity given me to speak at this moment. In fact, I believe it's an opportunity for me to clear the atmosphere over a lot of things that are trending. Government has put in place a lot of security measures to forestall safety. And, issue of security is not normally discussed in the public. So I wouldn't want to begin to talk vividly about the security measures that is being put in place, because it's going to be a kind of a way of exposing the security strategy we have in place to forestall safety of our passengers and even our workers. So, but before I go further, I would want to use this opportunity to condole and to sympathize with the family of those that are still in captivity. Of course, it can happen to anyone, and it can happen to me also. Nobody is safe as far as this country is concerned. But I wouldn't be happy when issues are politicized over the running of the train that is coming up on the 23rd of this month.
So what are the measures that have been put in place by the government to ensure that lives are protected and those who would be using the train are safe?
Okay, thank you very much. We have a lot of discussions. We had a lot of discussions with the security agencies, both the police, the army, and the Air Force. And they have promised and have given their words in terms of protection of safety of our trains, our rail tracks, and passengers. I would love to stop there. I wouldn't want to say much on this because it will, as I speak, I know the whole world is listening, and even the bandits are listening. So if I speak more than this, they could strategize and still come and do worse things that we do not expect.
All right, Mr. Innocent Ajiji, what is the NRC and the workers going to do differently this time around? Because for all we know, it is just promises that the government is promising us that security measures have been placed, and they're even telling us that there'll be no morning and night service. So what exactly is your union doing differently?
Thank you very much. We have actually gone far in terms of thinking of what the measures to be put in place should be, because already we've been at the top of the situation right from the first train attack that took place around the bomb blast that took place sometimes in October. So that we have been talking and we have been strategizing. And what the union has put in differently is to make sure that insurance cover takes place for all those that are affected. And we have put, that is in terms of the staff. We had a 2-day warning strike sometimes like last year because there was no adequate insurance cover for our workers in place, no proper compensation, no this, no that. And so at the end of it all, we've come to agreement with management in terms of the personal life insurance, though we have a group life insurance, which of course nobody has benefited. So now I want to assure you that life insurance covers every worker.
Innocent, you seem not to get the question I asked you. I wasn't asking us about I find, in as much as we know that the welfare of these workers are paramount, I meant specifically what you will be doing differently as in your services directly. For instance, we hear that the NIN is to be used before any passenger gets on board. So how prepared is the workers of the NRC for this particular development? That's what I was asking you.
Oh yeah, we are very prepared for every development because our workers have gone on various kind of training to ensure that that is effective. And so we are so prepared and we are so much aware that security is one of the paramount issues that is affecting the smooth running of our trains. So we have put in place so many strategies, which I wouldn't want to disclose.
I know you. That's why you keep saying that you're not disclosing these strategies. But then again, are you also aware, Innocent, that the abductees' families are actually insisting that come May 23rd, they're not going to allow, any operation of the train service in Kaduna State? What is going to be done by the NLC?
Okay, thank you very much. You see, these families that are talking in this manner, in as much as we sympathize with them, but we will not support that because there are killings every day on the road. Have the family come out to say there shouldn't be running of motor cars on the road? These Chibok girls we are talking about, it's over 8 years this year. Have they closed all the schools in Northeast because of insurgency? Except if we want to close the entire country, then they should continue to insist. Is it because those that are affected on the road and other schools do not have families that have access to social media or the print or electronic media that they will be talking in this manner? It's not fair. They are not even fair to railway workers at all, because if you insist that we must not run train, then it means they have prepared another job for railway workers to go and do. Because certainly government will not be keeping people that are doing nothing and be paying them salary for doing nothing. So they are not being fair to us. We want this family to understand that this issue of security affects everybody in this country. And we want them to understand that, in fact, it affects me directly because one of the drivers that is still in captivity happens to be my colleague. We worked together in Bauchi before he was transferred to Abuja. He has been so close to me. I have done a lot of things and a lot of efforts to meet with the family and even the family of the other staff and members of ours that are still in captivity. So we are directly affected equally. And we never can tell who will be the next victim of this attack. So I want the families of these kidnapped people to understand that in as much as, except if we agree that the country should not move forward, because it affects everybody. You are even in your house, they'll come and kidnap you. So talk more when you are on the road or when you are on the track. So I want them not to politicize this issue because they have access to electronic media and because they are connected or because they are children of the big. Children of the poor have been kidnapped every day, but nobody has come up to say, stop running of cars on the road. Stop opening schools or allow schools to continue.
Innocent.
Because that's our only source of livelihood. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Innocent Ajiji, for being part of the breakfast this morning. We do appreciate your time and your thoughts as well on the show. And of course, fingers are crossed, would definitely follow up with development as they come.
All right, that's the size of the show for today. A very big thank you to you for sitting back and watching us. And of course, to all of our guests that joined us today, we say a thank you, a very big thank you, all the same. My name is Justin Akademi. The breakfast returns again tomorrow.
If you missed out on any part of it, it's all right to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Messi Boko. Have a great day.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
Reading is an essential habit and a culture that must be developed. Nigerians are generally believed to have a poor reading culture. The role of government in promoting reading and equipping reading spaces and libraries in Nigeria cannot be underestimated. But first, we must look at the development of reading habits from the home and the role parents play in encouraging their children.
My parents, my mom used to be a teacher, so reading was obviously part of a curriculum. And then my father used to be a professor and is an author. So I started reading very, very early, and I started reading books that were higher than my age grade. I was reading African Writer series from age 7, age 8, and reading encyclopedias by that time. So obviously my parents had a huge part and encouraged that in me.
In the Nigerian book market, there's a high influx of foreign authors writing for children, but very few Nigerian authors telling relatable, homegrown Nigerian stories.
If you start out reading stories even to your baby, even before they're 1, and then as they get older, buy appropriate materials that are colorful, with easy to read words, and read with them. I think that helps.
Adedotun Enyade, a co-founder of Robin Heights, a leading bookstore in Nigeria, has tips for Nigerian authors and how they can improve on their work and get into the hearts of readers.
The story has to be good, right? If you're writing, whatever you're writing, if you're writing fiction, if you're writing non-fiction, it has to be really, really compelling, one. The next thing would be in terms of the packaging, right? People have gone past the era where you just take your books to just about any printer to print for you. I think, publishers, self-published authors as well, they need to invest in ensuring that the quality of the book, the final output is one that would, stack up with any book, published, elsewhere in the world. So that's really important. Then I think, what would be the most important tip for me to them would be just, they need to invest in marketing.
The book business, like any other business, is challenging.
If you ask anyone who's running the business in Nigeria, they will tell you capital, of course, right? Book selling is also, as with any other business, is also quite capital intensive. Getting to pay your rent, getting to actually buy the books and stock up your shelves when you have them. Hiring good people requires decent amount of capital. So I would say it's getting the startup funds to set up something, and then if you're looking to do it at scale like we're hoping to do, then it also requires you raising funding, which isn't readily available in commercial banks, right? I don't think a bank would say they want to give you a loan to set up a bookstore. They probably will be skeptical about the number of people who read. So for us, I think it's just I would say capital is at the top of a totem pole.
It is commendable that certain individuals and organizations are making concerted efforts to revive the reading culture in the country. The government should also redesign the school curriculum to incorporate more reading activities in primary and secondary schools.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa. Good morning, I am Messi Bopo. This is the news brief. The National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has disclosed that about 9 bodies have been recovered so far from a gas explosion that rocked a primary school building in Sambogari area of Kano State. A statement by NEMA's spokesman, Manzo Ezekiel, revealed that the Director General NEMA, Mustafa Ahmed, was at the site of the incident and coordinated rescue operation. He mobilized excavators been used for the rescue operations and said NEMA team will ensure complete removal of the rubble to retrieve all trapped persons.
We are at the scene of the event at around 10:15 a.m. to investigate and ascertain the impact of the explosion. DG NEMA, Mustafa Habib, was at the site of the incident. He led in the coordination of the rescue operations. Excavators were mobilized to ensure removal of the rubble to retrieve trapped victims. 9 dead bodies were recovered from the collapsed building after the explosions and have been deposited at the morgue at Armed Forces Specialist Hospital. Injured victims by the explosion were taken to various hospitals. Total number stands at, that is the total number of injured victims stands as 10, and the 2 were already discharged. At this juncture, I want to call on the people on the site, particularly people living in the area when the incident happened like that, to remain calm and caution the public against spread of unsubstantiated news. Thank you very much.
The Christian Association of Nigeria says it will go ahead with its nationwide protest against the lynching of Deborah Yakubu, a 200-level student of Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto, who was stoned to death and burnt for allegedly blaspheming Prophet Muhammad. This is despite a ban on religious protests by Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai. An appeal by Nasir State Governor Abdullahi Sule moves by some northern governors for Khan to shelve its planned protests. The spokesman for Khan, President Reverend Bayo Olajide, said the protest would hold on Sunday nationwide in front of Khan secretariats in various states or major churches, adding that there would be no procession. Dejobi even said, though Khan had said it would not be a street protest, there was need for Christians' body to ensure that the demonstration was coordinated in a responsible manner, such that it would not lead to a breakdown of law and order. Governorship candidates of the All Progressive Congress, APC, will be elected on Friday as the ruling party begins the process that will eliminate in the emergence of its presidential candidate on June the 1st. Delegates will pick the candidates in the 28 states where governorship elections would hold.
37 panels in one for each of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory were inaugurated at the party's National Secretariat. The panels, in addition to conducting the elections of delegates, will also screen clear aspirants for House of Assembly elections. There will be no elections in 8 states in 2023 where the elections are off-season. This include Bayelsa, Edo, Ondo, Anambra, Kogi, Imo, as well as Ekiti and Osun State, where elections will take place next month and July. World Hypertension Day is celebrated annually on the 17th of May with the sole aim of educating the public and increasing awareness of hypertension, which is commonly known as high blood pressure. The day is organized by the World Health Organization and World Hypertension League, which is an umbrella organization composed of 85 hypertension society and leagues from all over the world to encourage people to regularly check their blood pressure. The theme for this year is Know Your Numbers, and the WHL would like to encourage as many persons as people as possible to get involved in the measurement for the month. An initiative that started in 2017 with volunteers manning screening sites in range of venues around the world to check the blood pressure of as many people as possible. We're being joined by Dr. Ndubisi Igbochi, medical practitioner, on our flagship news bulletin. Take a listen.
This year's theme is, came along from the idea of wanting the general population, general public, to know their numbers, basically, to know their blood pressure. You know, it's just a way of making everyone aware of the idea of hypertension and getting their blood pressure checked as often as possible. It could be better. It could be better. You know, we are not where we used to be a few years ago. We are better now, and we could only get better. So we need to do more awareness. We need to do more education of the public. So we're getting better. It's very important to monitor your blood pressure because hypertension is what they call a silent killer, a silent disease. Many people could have hypertension walking around the streets, and they have no symptoms. You know, most people that have hypertension have no symptoms. And then when you now start having symptoms, is when it gets to a very critical situation. You know, when you start having complications, which is why it's good to get your blood pressure checked as often as possible, so that you can know and be able to manage it very early on to avoid complications arising. Managing hypertension generally starts from modifying your lifestyle. You know, physical exercise is very important. Your diet, cutting down on salt is very important. Reducing alcohol intake is also very important. Reducing stressful activities. You know, we live in times where people are always very busy. So try to relax as much as possible. You know, doing all this, and then your diet to contain lots of vegetables, lots of fruits. So we as individuals can start by modifying our lifestyle. That's the first step to controlling hypertension.
The National President of Association of Specialist Medical Doctors and Academics, Olugbenga Ayenuga, has stressed the need to focus more on developing public infrastructure in Nigeria for less impact of pandemics on citizens. Ayenuga at the National Executive Council meeting of the association held at the EMFA Theatre of Rivers University, Port Harcourt, called on the government to strengthen medical research capacity in the country.
Brain drain will always be with us until the government is willing and ready to do something about it. Because it is not of economic sense for us to train medical doctors in Nigeria only for almost 70-80% of them to now be employed in other clients that did not invest in their training. But aside from that, the events around COVID-19 had also exposed our poor infrastructure around biomedical research. And that's the reason around the team that we're looking at this National Executive Council meeting. It is important that we learn a lot of lessons from COVID. All of the vaccines that we got in this country were imported. We had delays in initiating our vaccination process because we didn't have enough vaccine at a point. our lives, in quotes, were completely dependent on the magnanimity of other nations of the world.
The provost of the College of Medical Science and the Rivers State University, Professor Godswill Olwene, said the biomedical science are facing challenges in terms of manpower and infrastructure and called on the government to support the sector. On his birthday, state chairman of the association, Abayemi Tamono Opobo, who spoke on the theme, biomedical research, an essential tool in medical education and advancement, said it was aptly chosen and outlined their fundamental roles as core scientific researchers in the medical profession.
In the time past, we've had people at certain level, especially the pre-clinical era and period. We've had people that are non-doctors that are involved in training of medical doctors. And our own council, the Medical and Dental Council, deem it fit, and the medical world, that doctors should train doctors. You go to the Faculty of Law, lawyers train lawyers, engineers train engineers. So doctors at every level should be trained by medical doctors. So some persons, this group of persons sacrifice themselves to come and fit in properly. Without looking at the brain drain situation, people are leaving the country, they still sit back to carry out this honors task, because what we represent is a core component of medical training.
Biomedical research in Nigeria is facing serious challenges in terms of manpower, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of sponsorship. So the government need to come in to support the education sector in terms of provision of necessary infrastructure that will be necessary for training of the requisite manpower.
Parents have been advised to be deliberate about the proper upbringing of their male children, to be forerunners, disciplined, and good examples, as good example is more potent than perception. This was the consensus of stakeholders at the International Day for the Boy-Child Essay Competition organized by Mother's Love held in Lagos. Plus TV correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedekun was there and now files in this report.
In most African societies, more women and girls receive attention and consideration than the boy child, and as a result, the neglected boy generally grows up to be a bigger danger to society than the girl. A Mother's Love initiative, AMLI, a social change initiative that campaigns for the overall well-being of the African child, is worried about the trend and its consequences on their well-being in adolescence and young adulthood.
In the course of our project, The Hoary Child, which started about 6 years ago, we noticed that the boy child, a lot of the boys are not speaking. And this gave us a reason to say, okay, we need to talk about the boy child, because if the boy child is not doing well, it affects the family front.
Hanatu Ewemadu decried the growing neglect of the boy child, saying that this adversely affects their well-being and consequently threatens their future.
If we continue at this rate, it's going to be a huge problem, which we are already seeing right now. It's important for us to begin to speak about the boy child, to encourage our society to begin to see how we can encourage them, how we can embrace them, how we can lead them in the right direction.
Panelists agree that the bulk of the work lies on the table of parents to ensure that the boy child grows up to become a societal blessing and not a curse.
You have to be intentional about parenting. Children will be children. They will cry. They will manipulate. You have to understand your role. The Bible says, train up a child in the way he should go, and gives you a promise. When he is old, he will not depart from it.
In our younger days, if you misbehaved and you were disciplined outside, you pray that the person doesn't know your parents, because once you are reported to your parents, that's double jeopardy, because you will be punished again back home. So societal influences have become one of the perhaps banes in the bringing up of children.
To further amplify the campaign against the neglect of the boy child in Nigeria, AMLI created a platform for young boys to compete among themselves and to creatively render their insights on the topic that says the importance of a father and son relationship from the lens of the boy child. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
Officials of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested a wanted suspected drug baroness, Bridget Ogenekwe Emeka, at her mansion where she allegedly masterminded the making and distribution of crack cocaine and other illicit substance. Apart from various quantities of crack cocaine, Molly Loud seized from her home and drug bunks, a pump action gun, a 15-cartridge document, 2 cars, mobile phones, and drug paraphernalia such as sodium bicarbonate and other drug elements were also recovered from her during the investigation. The drug baroness has been under surveillance for 2 weeks under such identification as major distribution of illicit drugs in Delta State. Nigerians continue to call for improvement of healthcare delivery as the global economy marks World Health Day, and that's on our Street View.
They are improving unlike the previous years, especially in general hospitals right now. There is a good facilities and the workers are really on ground. Now they have realized the reason to take responsibility on the job.
In general hospital, they will show you abuse you doing this and everything. Maybe government should help us to do the healthcare. I will like it. Everybody will like it.
Basically, well, I think they are trying for now, but I think there are lots of work to be done. Like we still have dilapidated hospitals that are not really working efficiently, and but basically for now, it's still on maybe 50% of 100. In a scale of 100, maybe 50% thereabout.
Relatively, if you look at the healthcare system in Nigeria, I think to me, I would, if I'm rating it, I'll probably rate it 70% in terms of percentage. And that's because there are some infrastructures we have in other well-developed countries that we don't have in Nigeria. And that's one of the things I feel government should look into.
I think there's still a lot need to be done because I've been in the different hospitals, and especially the government hospitals. There are a lot of things that need to be done because especially the staffs they have the Nigerian public hospitals, they need to do a lot of things to correct their mode of talking to their patients.
President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated the newly elected Somali President Hassan Mohamud for successfully staging a comeback after being unseated in 2017. In a statement issued by the president's media aide, Malam Garba Shehu, President Muhammadu Buhari said the election of Mohamud is a significant indication that the people of Somalia appreciate his effort to unite and rebuild the country after decades of civil war and terrorist activities. The president commended the outgoing president Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo's victory, which inevitably would lead to a peaceful transition in the best interest of the people, and reassured the new Somali leader that Nigeria will continue its usual support for peacekeeping efforts in Somalia. And outside Africa, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un slammed his country's response to its first officially confirmed COVID-19 outbreak as immature, accusing government officials of inadequacies as fever cases swept the country. State media reported on Wednesday, presiding over the meeting of the ruling Workers' Party on Tuesday, Kim said immaturity in the state capacity for coping with the crisis increased the complexity and hardship in fighting the pandemic when time is the life. That's according to the state-run television, KRT. Northern Korean reported 880 more people with fever symptoms and 6 more deaths after the country revealed that COVID outbreak last week. It did not say how many people have tested positive for COVID since it first acknowledged the COVID outbreak. The country reported 1.72 million patients with fever symptoms, including 62 deaths as of Tuesday evening. Several dozens anti-lockdown protesters returned to the DCR area 47 days after the People's Convoy, a group led by truckers, left the Washington, D.C. area after weeks of protesting, still calling itself the People's Convoy. They held a rally at the Speedway at 6 p.m. The group is a fraction of the size of a regional convoy, which filed the Speedway parking area and overflow into the surrounding neighbors with hundreds of trucks and automobiles. The group does not have a set plan yet, according to protesters, but some want to do more than previous protest model of driving around Washington Beltway, a highway that surrounds Washington, D.C.
What they're trying to do is end the state of emergency. We're time to be over that, time to get over the mandates, time for people not to be mandated into taking a vaccine they don't want to take. And it's time to end and get on with our lives. It's not nearly the number of people when they first started out, but this has been going on for quite a while. And I guess the people that are here are the diehards that are still sticking with it.
Because I'm not here to drive around in circles. You know, that's not doing any good. You know, okay, yeah, we're here. Hey, we're driving around circles. It's not doing any good. Nobody knows, like, we need to put more effort into it.
And in business news, chief executive officers of businesses in Nigeria have been encouraged to engage and commit to growth and sustainable innovation in Africa. This came up on the sidelines of CEO's Breakfast Roundtable hosted by UN Global Impact Network Nigeria in Lagos. Justin Akadonye tells more in this report.
Although it was a breakfast roundtable for the Assistant Secretary General of the United Nations Global Compact, CEOs from the private sector in Lagos converged in this hall to collaborate on the sustainability of the continent. The United Nations Global Africa Strategy 2021 to 2023 is a proposed roadmap to accelerate corporate sustainability and champions the business sector's contribution to sustainable development in the continent. In this panel session, the narrative of the Sustainable Development Goals takes center stage, including gender equity, decent work and economic growth, and climate action, among others.
By adopting sustainability, we were able to bring a very attractive value proposition to the oil and gas sector. Essentially, we halved the cost for logistics support, and we enabled projects which have never been done in Nigeria before to be done in Nigeria.
I think that within the business community, there's a very clear understanding that this is not just perhaps the right thing to do, but it is the absolutely commercial thing to do.
I believe that empowering women is pivotal to the shared success that we all strive to achieve, because the role women play in the empowerment of the family, the homes, and even the individuals cannot be wished away.
Resident Coordinator of the United Nations, as well as other top echelon of the Global Compact, throw more light on the essence of the sessions as they affect the private sector and even young people.
Opportunities for young people to have to work with companies. So the idea is by giving them exposure to working in the private sector, they become more attractive as part of a future labor force.
It's more about how can private sector speak as one voice, you know, and bring all the businesses together, partnerships. It's going to be very important what the brilliant organizations and bodies here that are already delivering on the SDG.
We want to unite the Africa and indeed Nigeria private sector to be able to help to work with governments in ensuring that the Sustainable Development Goals have impact.
Oh, the take-home message is sustainable business is the future. It's no longer business as usual.
CEOs now understand that they need to operate responsibly, embed the 10 principles of the UN Global Compact, take actions to promote human rights in their business, ensure decent work in their operations, protect the environment where they live in.
The discussion also focused on identifying prevalent barriers and key actions to achieve the ambitions of the Africa Strategy. Justin Akadonye, Plus TV News, Lagos.
And that's it on the news brief. For more stories, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit our website at www.plustvafrica.com, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Messi Boko. Many thanks for watching. There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. Wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games. Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back at the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Hello and welcome to Plus Sports on Plus TV Africa. It's Wednesday, middle of the week, so of course the weekend's sports is close by. Meanwhile, of course, we have plenty of sports stories to digest this Wednesday. Now, the Flying Eagles advanced to the final after a 2-1 extra-time victory over Côte d'Ivoire, while Benin defeated Burkina Faso 2-1 in the first game of the day at Niger's Seynou Koche Stadium. The much-anticipated match between Nigeria and Côte d'Ivoire lived up to expectations as the Flying Eagles imposed their physique on the Ivorians to win. Nigeria got off to a fast start, capitalizing on an error by the Ivorian goalkeeper to open the scoring early in the game. Ibrahim Mohamed's corner kick set up Daniel Dagger's goal 4 minutes in. The Ivorians attempted to respond several times but failed to capitalize. Seydou Traoré, the Elephant striker, got the Ivorians back into the game when he combined well with his midfielders to restore parity. Following a 1-1 tie in regulation time, Nigeria prevailed in extra time thanks to Ibrahim Yaya, who also secured Nigeria's under-20 AFCON qualification by converting a 109th minute penalty that resulted from a foul on Onuche Ogbelu. Daniel Dagger was named man of the match. Now I have with me Susan Omokweloe. Susan?
Good morning. Good to have you join me.
Welcome. Of course, we're going to talk about some other things, some other football-related matters, but I want to quickly get your opinion on just how well the Flying Eagles did in this match.